Chapter 17. Zhong Haoran sneered and stretched his body. He then dashed towards the two of them like a dragon. While he was on the way, his fist, which was wrapped in blue qi, was thrown out with all of his strength. It left a beautiful trail of light in the air. At first glance, it looked like there was a blue qi dragon on his fist. The roar of a tiger shook the sky. Wu Zongming and Yi Chen had already lost their footing before this punch had even landed. They felt as if there was a peerless dragon swooping towards them, and its power was so great that they couldn't even think of fighting back. Of course, if they did not fight back, they would definitely die. When Yi Chen was about to make a move, he realized that Wu Zongming was already prepared. Zhong Haoran, don't think that you can beat me with your tiger roar dragon fist. Burning fire sacrifice spell. Wu Zongming put his palms together, his qi increased rapidly, fighting against Zhong Haoran's punch. He then jumped at Zhong Haoran and threw out a punch that seemed slow but was actually fast. Yi Chen was shocked. The burning fire sacrifice spell was an extremely powerful auxiliary martial art. By burning qi, it could increase the user's power to a new level. But when the time was up, the user's body would be damaged to a certain extent. If used too many times, the user could even become a disabled person. Boom! When the two fists collided, the debris on the ground flew in all directions. In the next second, both of them were blown back, spitting out a small mouthful of blood. No wonder you have the guts to fight against me, you have learned the burning fire sacrifice spell. The burning fire sacrifice spell was not a high-rank martial art, it was only a high-rank mortal realm martial art. But once used, it could increase the user's power by 30%. However, the side effect was too big, it could damage the user's body, or even cripple the user. So no one dared to use it frequently. It was listed as one of the forbidden martial arts in the Sky Cloud Martial School. Even if Zhong Haoran stopped Wu Zongming, he would have to pay a huge price for it. It might even affect his progress to the condensing reality realm. Wu Zongming was about to say something, but he realized that someone was coming from behind. He sneered, "Sorry, I can't keep you company." Shoo. With the help of the burning fire sacrifice spell, Wu Zongming's speed had reached its limit. He rushed into the tunnel with a wave of heat, and disappeared in a flash. I have to say, you're very lucky. Zhong Haoran wanted to teach Yi Chen a lesson, but he was afraid that Wu Zongming would take the first place. Not to mention that he was not only injured, but the tiger roaring dragon fist had also consumed most of his internal qi. It was hard to say whether he could get what he wanted, so he had to leave behind a meaningful sentence and then dashed into the passageway. Yi Chen sneered in his heart and continued to expel the cold air from his body. Swish, swish, swish. In a short while, at least a dozen people had entered the passage. After a short while, Yi Chen opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of cold air. His right hand tightened its grip on the hilt of his sword. He tapped the ground lightly and shot into the tunnel like an arrow leaving the bow. In the deep tunnel, the wooden machete men jumped out one by one, slashing at anyone they saw. The dozen people running in front of Yi Chen had no choice but to slow down, lest they were eliminated at the last moment. Damn, that person behind us is so fast. The person at the back saw that Yi Chen could ignore the attacks of the wooden swordsman and always escape from danger at the critical moment. He could not help but exclaim, "Ah!" Just as he finished his words, he was slashed to the ground by a wooden machete men. He regretted that he did not pay attention. Yi Chen flew over from above and cut down the incoming wooden blade with one sword strike. Then he narrowly passed between two wooden machete men. His timing was perfect. As for the reason why Yi Chen could be so calm, it was all because of his powerful soul power. He did not need to use his eyes to sense everything within 5 meters around him. Moreover, after precise calculations, he could quickly choose the best route, which could save him a lot of time. Overtake 5 people. Overtake 10 people. Overtake 13 people. Yi Chen finally returned to the 3rd place, leaving the 4th place far behind. The exit of the Mu Ren Alley was actually in the same direction as the entrance. In other words, all the challengers had taken a big detour inside. It was hard to imagine how big the so-called Mu Ren Alley was. Although they could see the exit, it did not mean that they had succeeded. At the exit stood a slender and short wooden machete men. Its whole body was made from hundreds of pieces of dark red wood. It held a slender long blade in its hand. It did not seem to have any life force, but it was emitting a terrifying magical power. Bada, bada. The wooden machete men rushed towards Yi Chen. It was getting faster and faster. When it was 5 steps away, it waved its blade. Chin. Yi Chen felt like his great steel sword was about to fly out of his hand. He was shocked at the wooden macheteman's power. The first blade was blocked, but the wooden macheteman's second blade followed. It did not have any changes, only speed and ruthlessness. Find an opening. Yi Chen calmed himself down and shook his great steel sword. Like a mudfish, he stabbed the wooden macheteman's elbow joint at a weird angle. Although he did not manage to break his opponent's elbow, he managed to create a flaw in its movement. Thus, Yi Chen hurriedly threw a punch at its chest. Boom! The wooden machete men was blown away. He had succeeded. Outside the exit, Master Lin looked at Yi Chen with surprise. He smiled and said, "Congratulations on getting the 3rd place. Here are 3 windy dew pellets. As for the high-rank mortal realm martial skills and martial arts, you will have to go to the Pavilion of Martial Arts to pick them yourself. This is the tag for the 2nd floor of the Pavilion of Martial Arts. It can only be used once." Putting away the pellets and the tag, Yi Chen let out a sigh of relief. It was not easy for him to get the 3rd place. Wu Zhongming walked over with a smile on his face. A high-rank mortal realm martial art and not having one are 2 completely different levels. I am afraid that you will catch up with me in the future. Yi Chen blocked a punch from Zhong Haoren with his mortal realm stage 6 power. His martial arts were not that high, which made Wu Zhongming very curious about him. He wanted to make friends with him. After all, one more friend was better than one more enemy. Yi Chen said modestly, "You flatter me. If it were not for you, I would not even be able to stand here. Let's not talk about this. We should talk more in the future." "Of course. Oh right, you need to be careful of Zhong Haoren. Although he could not do anything to me, he might come after you. You should be careful." Yi Chen nodded and looked towards Zhong Haoren's direction. Zhong Haoren's face was very pale. This time, he had suffered a huge loss. Not only did he not win against Wu Zhongming, he did not even keep his promise to his cousin. Luckily, he got the 1st place with his inch travel steps, otherwise, he would have been vomiting blood. As for Yi Chen, he did not care too much about Zhong Haoren. With a high-rank mortal realm martial art, he was confident that he could increase his power to the next level in a short period of time. If he had a few more months, he would have trained his chi to the 7th or 8th stage, and trained his martial art to the highest level. By then, it would not be impossible for him to fight against Zhong Haoren. Of course, Zhong Haoren's Tiger Raw Dragon Fist was a threat. It was quite hard to deal with, and could be considered as one of the best top-rank mortal realm martial arts. However, Yi Chen was not weak either. With the lone peak of 13 swords, with this unique sword art, Yi Chen had nothing to fear. Chapter 18. After a night's rest, the next morning, Yi Chen once again came to the Pavilion of Martial Skills. The Pavilion Master knew most of the inner disciples and all of the core disciples, but the outer disciples only knew a few people, such as Zhong Haoren and Wu Zhongming. But strangely, the moment Yi Chen entered the pavilion, he recognized him and smiled at him. Yi Chen felt strange, but still said politely, "Greetings, Master." The pavilion guardian elder nodded and said, as a senior, "It's not a good thing to have too many martial skills. You should know what I mean." Yi Chen knew what he was thinking. He smiled bitterly. "Master, I am going to the 2nd floor, here is my token." Yi Chen said as he handed the token to the elder. "Token? What? You got the 3rd place in the Mu Ren gang?" The pavilion master's face was full of surprise. He could not help but ask. "Yes." The pavilion master hesitated. "You really mastered the lone peak of 13 swords?" Seeing Yi Chen nodding, the pavilion master still could not believe it, but he had to believe it. Getting the 3rd place with only an incomplete lone peak of 13 swords was too easy. After all, Yi Chen was only at the mid-mortal realm stage 6. Although he was the pavilion master, he could not ask too much. He reminded, "Those who can go to the 2nd floor are all inner disciples and core disciples, They will more or less show their arrogance in front of you, an outer disciple, so remember not to mess with them. Also, you are not an official inner disciple, so you have to come down in 15 minutes, so you need to pick a martial skill as soon as possible. I know. Yi Chen understood this. Although inner disciples and outer disciples were both disciples, their positions were completely different, and if he had a conflict with an inner disciple, he would be the one to suffer. As for picking a martial skill within 15 minutes, it was to prevent outer disciples from secretly memorizing other martial skills. The staircase was deep on the left. Yi Chen walked over with a calm expression. As soon as he went upstairs, Yi Chen felt an invisible pressure on his face. Looking around, there were about a dozen people on the second floor. Some of them were reading the secret manuals seriously, some were chatting in low voices, and some were holding a few secret manuals and making a choice. Among these people, the oldest was no more than 20 years old, and the youngest was about the same age as Yi Chen. All of them had an unfathomable temperament. They were inner disciples. The inner disciple who was closest to Yi Chen turned his head out of habit with a hint of doubt on his face. Then he seemed to have thought of something and muttered, "I almost forgot, yesterday was the Mu Ren Gang Challenge, this person should be in the top 10. After muttering to himself, he turned his attention back to the secret manual and stopped paying attention to Yi Chen. Taking a few steps forward, Yi Chen looked around and realized that the layout was similar to the first floor, but it was more classical and elegant. The bookshelves were not made of normal wood, but were made of valuable sandalwood. The aroma coming from the sandalwood was rich, and it had the effect of calming one's soul. The bookshelves were divided into 5 layers. The bottom 3 layers were filled with high-rank Mortal Realm manuals, and the top 2 layers were filled with top-rank Mortal Realm manuals. There were 3 to 5 manuals on each layer, and at most 7 manuals. On the side of each bookshelf, there were labels, such as training art type, auxiliary art type, movement art type, attack art type, defense art type, and so on. Without further ado, Yi Chen only had 15 minutes to make a choice. First, he went to the section with the martial skill manuals. Yi Chen randomly picked up a manual, flipped through the title page, then put it down. Then he picked up another one and put it down. Out of the dozens of manuals, there were only 9 that caught his eye. They were Burning Fist, Attack Art, Inch Travel Steps, a movement skill, 8 Steps Chasing Cicada, Movement Art, Yuan Chi Force, Defense Art, Formless Counterattack, Defense Art, Golden Swallow Art, Movement Art, 4 Parts Fist, Attack Art, Sword Draw Art, Attack Art, Deadwood Seal, Attack Art. These 9 martial skills might not be the best high-rank Mortal Realm martial skills, but they were definitely the most suitable for Yi Chen. Therefore, even he was a bit tempted by them. The Burning Fist was Wu Zongming's main martial skill. Its power did not need to be mentioned. Once he mastered it, he would be able to create a firepower, which would be able to deliver a fatal attack to the enemy. The inch steps was the footwork that Zhong Haoren trained. It was like shrinking the ground into an inch. It was very scary and practical. The 8 Steps Chasing Cicada focused on the explosive power within 8 steps, which was enough to increase one's speed by 50% or more. No matter how fast the enemy was, they would not be able to escape from the palm of their hands. It was the best choice for chasing and killing enemies. The Yuan Chi Force was a bit more mysterious. It needed the help of Qi to cultivate a special kind of Yuan Qi. This Yuan Qi was just like Qi. It would be stored inside the body, and when it was used, it would automatically appear and protect the body. However, every time it was used, it would be used up. The first 4 were already the best. If there were no other choices, Yi Chen would definitely choose one of them. However, with the last 5, Yi Chen had no choice but to give up on them. The non-phase counterattack was a defensive martial skill, but it was also an offensive martial skill. It focused on being able to predict the enemy's movements and counter-attack with defense. If the enemy was strong, I would be strong. If the enemy was weak, I would be weak. If the enemy did not move, I would not move. It was very hard to deal with. If one mastered it, he would be able to stand on the ground. The Golden Swallow Art was a movement skill. It allowed the user to walk on water without a problem. When mastered, the user would be able to fly more than 100 meters in the air, as light as a swallow flying on grass. When he saw the introduction of the fragmented fist art, Yi Chen could not help but let out a sound of surprise. This martial skill was so fierce and overbearing, it did not even have a hint of softness in it. With one punch, the target would definitely be torn into pieces. It could be said that it had reached the pinnacle of hardness. It was quite extreme. Hardness cannot last long. Tai Chi is about yin and yang, hard and soft. Not to mention this martial skill, I'm afraid that if I can't defeat the enemy, I will be defeated by the enemy. It is too extreme. Yi Chen shook his head and gave up on the fragmented fist art. As for the sword drawing art, it was about the explosive power produced in the moment of drawing the sword. The strength and speed of the sword drawing art was much greater than the direct swing of the sword. Therefore, the first move was to hit the enemy first, and to kill the enemy in one move. Yi Chen practiced the lone peak of 13 swords. If he could combine it with the sword drawing art, then from drawing the sword to putting it back, there would be no flaws to speak of, unless the opponent's strength or martial skills were much higher than his. However, there were many things that were not the case. The sword drawing art was not bad, but it was not a wise choice for those who practiced sword arts. It was the same as the fragmented fist art, it was too extreme. The first move was to injure the enemy, and if it could not injure the enemy, the spirit would be wasted. Therefore, the sword drawing art was not suitable for swordsmen, it was suitable for assassins. The last martial skill was the deadwood seal. This martial skill was good at hiding its aura. When it attacked, it was silent. Often, the enemy would not even notice it and would be killed directly. In addition, the name of the deadwood seal seemed lifeless, but in fact, it contained infinite vitality. Before the attack hit the target, the essence chi would be tightly locked. Only at the moment when the attack hit the target, would it be like an old tree in the spring, radiating a terrible vitality and explosive power. Chapter 19. Which one should he choose? Yi Chen thought for a while and quickly made his choice. He reached out his hand and picked up the golden swallow art. There was a reason for him to make such a choice. Compared to offensive and defensive martial techniques, movement martial techniques were more suitable for survival. It must be known that in the world of martial techniques, there was nothing that could not be overcome, only speed could not be overcome. When one's speed reached a certain realm, before the enemy could even hit you, you would already be able to injure them. This was more powerful than any offensive martial technique. Taking a step back, even if you could not defeat your opponent, you could still use your extraordinary speed to escape. Defensive martial skills could protect you for a while, but it could not protect you forever. As for the inch swim steps, the 8 steps chasing cicada, and the golden swallow art, Yi Chen didn't really care why he chose the golden swallow art, it was just a feeling. Now that he had chosen the martial skill, it was time for the martial skill. What do you mean? I had my eyes on this iron cloak technique first. At this moment, a commotion broke out from the third bookshelf. Yi Chen immediately knew who it was. He curiously walked out from between the shelves and looked towards the direction of the noise. 10 steps away stood 2 people. One of them was handsome, no more than 13 years old. He looked young and immature. He must be Zhong Haoren, who had just arrived. The other was about 17 or 18 years old. He was wearing a yellow robe and had a strong body. His arms were even thicker than Zhong Haoren's. He had a square face and a square chin. His eyes were long and narrow, giving off a cold light. He looked like a combination of a tiger and a poisonous snake. The two were fighting over a high-rank mortal realm defensive skill called Iron Cloak Art. This skill was not of a high rank, but it was very practical and effective. Its popularity was no less than a top-rank mortal realm skill. Zhong Haoren wanted to take it back and train it to make up for his low defense, but he didn't expect that it would be snatched away by Zhong Haoren. Zhong Haoren even glared at Zhong Haoren, telling him to get out of here. Zhong Haoren couldn't take it anymore. He was furious. The yellow-clothed youth chuckled and said, "An outer sect disciple dares to be so arrogant. Scram home and drink milk." Zhong Haoren's face darkened. "Don't think I don't know who you are. Huang Bingwen, 17 years old, early condensing reality realm, the second young master of the mayor's mansion." "It's good that you know," Huang Bingwen said proudly. "Pooh. 17 years old and only at the early condensing reality realm, and you still have the nerve to come out and embarrass yourself? What right do you have to be so arrogant in front of me? Zhong Haoren's words were shocking. As soon as this was said, the onlookers started to discuss. This person is Zhong Haoren, right? No wonder he dared to go against Huang Bingwen. However, his tone was sharp enough. I'm afraid he will offend many people. Peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10 at the age of 13. If he could break through to the condensing reality realm by the end of the year, he would be one of the top 5 geniuses in the Sky Cloud Martial School. Looks like Huang Bingwen has kicked an iron plate. I heard that Zhong Haoren is favored by the inner disciple Elder Liu. He even made an exception and allowed Zhong Haoren to learn the top-rank Mortal Realm martial skill, Tiger Dragon Fist. Huang Bingwen's face darkened as he heard the discussions around him. He said in a creepy tone, "Little brat, you have guts. You only dare to be so arrogant because of your connections. What a joke. I, Zhong Haoren, need my connections. Do you dare to make a bet?" 2 months later in the martial arts plaza, the loser has to apologize to the winner. Zhong Haoren threw out another bomb. Huang Bingwen and the other inner disciples were all shocked. What kind of joke was this? An outer disciple challenging an inner disciple? All right. As you wish, I, Huang Bingwen, will accept. Although fighting with an outer disciple would be beneath his dignity, as long as he could beat his opponent easily, people would think that Zhong Haoren was too arrogant and would not blame him. Shoo. Grabbing the Iron Cloak skill manual from Huang Bingwen's hand, Zhong Haoren walked down the stairs without looking back. Huang Bingwen's face turned green. He had nowhere to vent his anger. When he realized there was another outer disciple on the second floor, he yelled, "What the fuck are you looking at?" Yi Chen was shocked. He did not expect to become Huang Bingwen's punching bag. Annoyed, he said coldly, "My eyes are on my face. Do I need your permission to look anywhere?" As soon as he said this, the surrounding inner disciples were shocked again. What was going on? This year's outer disciples were getting more and more arrogant. The first one was still okay, as he was at least at the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10, and he had the support of an inner master. But this guy in front of them was only at the mid-Mortal Realm Stage 6. He was not famous, and no one knew him. But his tone was not any lower than Zhong Haoren's. Huang Bingwen was furious. His clothes were fluttering even though there was no wind. A dark brown light shone out of his body. It seemed like he was about to attack. "Huang Bingwen, what are you doing? Do you know what this place is?" One of the inner disciples with black hair scolded. Huang Bingwen shivered. He had almost forgotten that this was the pavilion of martial skills. Fighting was forbidden here. Once caught, he would be severely punished, and would not be allowed to enter the pavilion for half a year. Withdrawing his Zhenqi, Huang Bingwen looked at Yi Chen fiercely and threatened, "Once we leave the pavilion of martial skills, I will teach you a lesson." Yi Chen frowned. This guy was like a mad dog. He would bite anyone he saw. But Yi Chen's cultivation was still low, so he would not be able to beat him. If he did not think of a way, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. After making up his mind, Yi Chen raised his head, "I will also make a bet with you. 2 months later, we will fight in the Martial Plaza. Whoever loses has to apologize to the other. Do you dare?" Like a bolt from the blue, Huang Bingwen himself was shocked. Haha. As if he had heard the funniest joke, Huang Bingwen pointed at Yi Chen and said, "You? Do you think you can beat me in 2 months? You must be dreaming. What? You don't dare? Damn, I know you are trying to provoke me. Why would I not dare? In 2 months, I will teach you and that Zhong Haoren a lesson together." Huang Bingwen was still a bit patient. He knew that the more he suppressed his desire, the better it would be when he exploded. Anyway, 2 months would pass very quickly. If that is the case, then I will not disturb you anymore. 15 minutes were almost up, and Yi Chen still had to choose a martial art. He did not dare to waste any more time. Looking at Yi Chen's back, the other inner disciples showed their interest. They were hoping that 2 months would pass quickly. Who knows, they might be able to see something interesting. Next to the bookshelf of martial arts, Yi Chen was seriously making his choice. 6 Sun Art, Extreme Yang, Dead Tree Art, Restrained Qi, Silent and Silent, Flowing Cloud Art, Fast Qi Circulation, Fire Force, Little Star Skill, Using Small to Win Big, Pure Inner Qi. There were not many martial arts, but it was enough to dazzle Yi Chen. There were all kinds of martial arts, and there were even some that were not so popular. Time passed by slowly. Yi Chen was a bit anxious. If he did not hurry, time would be up. Annoyed, he randomly picked up a martial art manual. Yi Chen's eyes were fixed on it. Under this martial art manual, there was another martial art manual. It seemed like it was accidentally left there. On the cover of the martial art manual, there were 3 words written in black: Pure Yuan Art. Chapter 20. Picking up the Pure Yuan Art manual, Yi Chen opened it to the first page. Pure Yuan Art, Qi First Qi Revolution, 100 Rivers Flow, Second Qi Revolution, Third Qi Refine the Body, Fourth Qi Revolution, Fifth Qi Revolution, Sixth Qi Integration. Alright, that's it. With only one glance, Yi Chen had already made up his mind. Training the Pure Yuan Art to the 5th twist, it would have the effect of combining the 6 elements into one. What was the meaning of combining the 6 elements into one? Combining the spirit, qi, soul, hands, eyes, and body into one. Combining the 6 elements into one, achieving the combination of the spirit and qi, the soul and qi, the hands and eyes, and the eyes and body. Perhaps its attack and defense were not as good as other arts, but the purity of its qi was definitely one of the best. There were not many mortal realm arts that could achieve spirit, qi, soul, hands, eyes, and body. Suddenly, an inner disciple appeared next to Yi Chen. He was reading a manual. Noticing Yi Chen's gaze, he smiled politely, but when he saw the manual in Yi Chen's hand, he was shocked. Pure Yuan Art? Yi Chen nodded, yes. The disciple hesitated for a second, then said, the Pure Yuan Art is indeed a rare art, but in the past 100 years, no one in the Sky Cloud Martial School has reached the 5th Qi Revolution, and only a few have reached the 4th Qi Revolution. I suggest you choose another art, otherwise it would be a waste of time. Since this was the case, Yi Chen was more than happy that no one else was training the same art as him. As for the disciple saying that no one in the past 100 years had reached the 5th Qi Revolution, it was only because of mortal realm warriors. Once they reached the condensing reality realm, they would be qualified to receive a top-rank mortal realm art. Therefore, most people would give up on their original art. After all, a high-rank mortal realm art would not be as good as a top-rank mortal realm art. My time is up. After saying goodbye, Yi Chen walked downstairs with the 2 manuals. The disciple shook his head. He warned Yi Chen out of kindness. As for whether Yi Chen would listen or not, it was none of his business. It was hard to say if he would still remember Yi Chen in the future. On the bed, Yi Chen sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. His hands formed a series of hand seals, one above and one below, at the position of his dantian. Along with the rise and fall of his breathing, strands of heaven and earth yuan qi gathered from the surroundings, forming a whirlpool that quickly seeped into his body, circulating ceaselessly in his meridians. If someone could see through Yi Chen's body, they would discover that other than the cyclone in the center of Yi Chen's dantian, there was another cyclone forming slowly and forcefully. Phew! Slowly letting out a mouthful of turbid air, Yi Chen opened his eyes. An extremely obscure light flashed across his pupils. 6 hours to cultivate to the first revolution. It seems that I have underestimated my own ability. Yi Chen was very satisfied with his efficiency. For a moment, he felt proud of himself. However, this was just the beginning. The Pure Yuan Art had a total of 5 revolutions, and each revolution was extremely difficult. It would take at least a few days to reach the 2nd revolution, and the 3rd revolution would take a few times longer. The 4th revolution would take another few times longer, and the 5th revolution would not be as simple as just doubling the time. Although Yi Chen already had a preliminary understanding of his own potential, he was still a little surprised that he had reached the 2nd revolution on the 3rd day. Now, the 2nd cyclone in his body was already 1/10 the size of the cyclone from the Cloud Qi spell, and it was even purer and more refined. It was like a transparent crystal, without any impurities. On the 6th day, All the meridians in Yi Chen's body had been cleared. The pure Yuan Qi inner Qi continued to circulate without any hindrance. Bit by bit, it trained his body, and extracted a very pure Yuan Qi from his bones and blood, merging it into his body and strengthening the cyclone. On the 7th day, the third revolution of the pure Yuan art was completed. Now, the second cyclone was already 1/5 the size of the first cyclone. Not only was it incredibly pure, but it was also spinning at an extremely fast speed. It was like a powerful gear, sucking in and spitting out a huge amount of Yuan Qi and the inner Qi from the first cyclone. Yi Chen thought to himself, the pure Yuan Qi inner Qi is at least twice as pure as the cloud Qi spell inner Qi. It's time to refine it. Otherwise, it would be very inconvenient to have two types of inner Qi in my body, and it would be hard for me to reach the 4th or even the 5th revolution of the pure Yuan art. Yi Chen put all his effort into activating the pure Yuan art, and started to attack the cloud Qi inner Qi. When the cloud Qi inner Qi was attacked, it tried its best to fight back. It used its advantage in numbers to set up layers of defense, blocking the pure Yuan Qi inner Qi. However, the inner Qi of the pure Yuan art was too pure. It was like a sharp knife, breaking through layer by layer. Every time it reached a place, it would refine the layer of defense formed by the inner Qi and strengthen itself. Then, like a rolling snowball, the more it attacked, the stronger it became. Feeling the dominance of the pure Yuan Qi inner Qi, Yi Chen sighed in his heart. Quality was always more reliable than quantity. The cloud Qi inner Qi was 5 times more than the pure Yuan Qi inner Qi inner Qi inner Qi, but it still couldn't compete with the pure Yuan Qi inner Qi inner Qi. Time passed by slowly. When there was only 1/5 of the cloud Qi inner Qi left, the Qi whirlpool suddenly collapsed and scattered. It became a disorganized mess. How could it still be a threat to the pure Yuan Qi inner Qi? Pop! As the cloud Qi inner Qi was completely refined, Yi Chen's dantian swelled up, and his cultivation broke through from the mid-mortal realm stage 6 to the late mortal realm stage 6. Letting out a mouthful of mist-shaped Qi arrow, he stretched his body. All of his bones started to make cracking noises, which sounded like they were connected together. Only 10 days of hard work and I have reached the late mortal realm stage 6. No wonder it is a high-rank mortal realm martial art. Training a martial art was too important for a warrior. When both warriors had the same talent, the warrior who trained a high-level martial art would always have a higher achievement than the warrior who trained a low-level martial art. This was an unchanging truth. Yi Chen had trained the pure Yuan art to the 3rd Qi coil in 10 days, and had already accumulated a lot of Qi. Now that he had refined the cloud Qi inner Qi, it would be strange if his cultivation did not increase. Just when Yi Chen was full of confidence, a group of guests arrived at the foot of the Sky Cloud Martial School's mountain. There were 2 men and 2 women. The leading man was an old man in his 60s, with a withered face and a cold expression. He was wearing a long green robe and had an emerald tag hanging on his waist. Next to the old man were 3 young men and women. The young man was about 17 or 18 years old, with a cold face and sharp facial features. On the left of the cold-looking young man was a pretty girl who was about 14 or 15 years old, wearing a green dress with a long sword hanging on her waist. On the right was another girl who looked a little older than the pretty girl. She had a beautiful face and a proud temperament, like an orchid in a valley, or a peony among flowers. The 2 different temperaments mixed together made her look even more outstanding. The pretty girl said to the beautiful girl, "Sister Shuiyang, no matter what you do, I will respect your decision. Yi Xian, I am not a picky person. Yi Chen's mother and my mother are both outer elders of the Rudra Martial School. They are like sisters. She used to take care of me when I was little and treated me very well. However, when it comes to marriage, I don't want anyone else to make the decision for me, and I don't want my future husband to live under my shadow." The beautiful girl spoke clearly, which made her look even more attractive. The pretty girl Yi Xian nodded and stopped talking. At this moment, the indifferent old man said, "Don't worry, our Emerald Martial Palace is the #1 martial institution in the Windy Nation. We will not force you to compromise. With your talent, you will definitely become an inner elder in the future. Why would you waste your time on worldly affairs?" Chapter 21. Who are you? At the foot of the mountain, 4 guarding disciples stopped a group of people. The cold-looking young man took a step forward and said loudly, "We are from the Emerald Martial Palace. This is the Inner Master Mu Fengyuan. Let us in." Emerald Martial Palace, Inner Master. The guarding disciple was shocked. In the Windy Nation, the disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace could do whatever they wanted when they were outside, not to mention that there was an inner elder, who was basically an overlord. Even the emperor had to treat him with respect. "This way, please." The guarding disciple at the front smiled and winked at the people next to him. "Go inform the master." Soon, the Emerald Martial Palace had shocked the entire Sky Cloud Martial School. In the reception hall of the Sky Cloud Martial School, other than the few inner masters sitting on the left side, there was a middle-aged man sitting on the main seat. He was about 40 years old, with a huge frame and a pair of tiger paws on the armrests of the chair. He looked like a tiger or a dragon. He was indeed the most powerful warrior in the Sky Cloud Martial School, the leader of the school, Luo Xinglie. Normally, if it was a normal inner master, Luo Xinglie would not have to greet him personally. He could have asked the head master or the second master to do so. However, this time, Mu Fengyuan was not simple. He was one of the top 10 inner masters in the Emerald Martial Palace. He was at the late clasping Yuan realm, which was not much weaker than Luo Xinglie. The headmaster, the second master and the third master might not be weaker than him, but it would be hard for them to suppress him. For the sake of his reputation, Luo Xinglie did not want to see a situation where the host was weaker than the guest. Therefore, he had to come personally, because he was the only one in the Sky Cloud Martial School who was obviously more powerful than him. On the right side, Mu Fengyuan and the 3 young men were sitting in order. "Haha, Master Mu, what brings you here?" "Sorry for not greeting you earlier." Luo Xinglie laughed brightly first, then looked at Mu Fengyuan. Mu Fengyuan smiled lightly, put down the teacup in his hand and said, "I hope Leader Luo will not blame us for coming without an invitation." The headmaster of the Sky Cloud Martial School was also an old man, slightly chubby. "Of course not. Our leader heard that you are here, so he came out to greet you personally." Luo Xinglie nodded, then changed the topic. "I wonder what Master Mu is here for? You can't be here just for a visit, right?" "Of course I am here for a visit, and also to take care of my junior's personal affairs." "A junior's private matter? What is it?" Luo Xinglie was a bit surprised. Mu Fengyuan cleared his throat and asked, "I wonder if there is an outer sect disciple named Yi Chen? This is his sister Yi Xian, and the other one is also related to him." As soon as she said that, Luo Xinglie and a few of the Sky Cloud Martial School's inner elders looked at Yi Xian and the beautiful girl and couldn't help but compliment them. The 2 women's beauty was secondary. What caught everyone's attention was their cultivation. Yi Xian looked like she was not even 15 years old yet, but she had already reached the early condensing reality realm. Her Zhanqi was a bit messy, so she should have just reached the condensing reality realm not long ago. In terms of talent, the Sky Cloud Martial School did not lack geniuses like her, but there were not many of them, not to mention she was a girl. The other beautiful girl was a bit scary. She was only slightly older than Yi Xian, but she had already reached the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm. If she was given a few more months, she would definitely be able to reach the late condensing reality realm. She was so talented that she could definitely be ranked in the top 3 in the Sky Cloud Martial School, maybe even higher. Luo Xinglie sighed quietly. The Emerald Martial Palace really had a lot of geniuses. Any one of them could compete with the most talented disciple in the Sky Cloud Martial School. No wonder they had always been the #1 martial institution in the Windy Nation. Even the North Snow Martial Academy was slightly weaker than them. "Young lady, what is your name?" the head elder could not help but ask. The beautiful girl looked calm. "Greetings, head elder. I am Ji Xueyan." "Ji Xueyan, are you a disciple of the Ji family?" "Yes." Luo Xinglie laughed. "With a disciple like you, the Ji family's position as one of the top 8 families will be even more stable." "Congratulations." "Yeah." The other inner elders nodded in agreement. "Someone, bring Yi Chen in." Luo Xinglie did not know who Yi Chen was, but he was the leader of the martial institution, so he only needed to say one word. The cold-looking young man, who had been silent the whole time, got Mu Fengyuan's permission. He stood up and said, "Leader Luo and all the elders, Liu Wuxiang has a request. He hopes that before we take care of Sister Ji, he can have a fight with Child Hanshan of your martial institution." Luo Xinglia's face froze. "You mean my son, Luo Hanshan?" Mu Fengyuan smiled and said, "Liu Wuxiang is one of the top 4 core disciples of our martial institution. Fighting with Child Hanshan should not be a disgrace to him, right?" "Of course, but my son is not feeling well. He might not be able to accept this." Luo Xinglia seemed to be troubled. Looking closely, one could see that there was a hint of sadness hidden deep in his eyes. Liu Wuxiang was a bit disappointed. He still wanted to say something, but was stopped by Mu Fengyuan. "Dad." Suddenly, a young man in blue appeared outside the guest hall. Luo Xinglia looked over in surprise. "Hanshan, why are you here?" The young man in blue looked at Liu Wuxiang and said, "Dad, just accept his request. I also want to see the power of the absolute palm Liu Wuxiang. But, don't worry, I know what I'm doing." The young man in blue was indeed Child Hanshan, Luo Hanshan, the son of Luo Xinglia. He was ranked second among the core disciples, just below the hidden fragrance sword Zhumai. Liu Wuxiang stood up. 2 years ago, the 4 most powerful young warriors of the Windy Nation were named as the top 4 child. They were our head disciple, Child Emerald, Child North Snow from the North Snow Martial Academy, Child Duanmu from the Duanmu family, and Child Hanshan from the Sky Cloud Martial School. Right now, my head disciple and Child North Snow are trying to break through to the clasping Yuan realm, but you have lost the title of the number 1 core disciple in the Sky Cloud Martial School. It is really hard to understand. Luo Hanshan responded calmly, "Zhumai beat me fairly and honestly, I think you all know about her power. Hidden fragrance sword Zhumai is indeed very powerful, but to be honest, she is much weaker than my head disciple. Maybe your understanding of my head disciple is still the same as 2 years ago, then you are completely wrong." Luo Hanshan didn't want to argue with the young man. He said, "Let's cut the crap, how are we going to compete?" His opponent was one of the top 4 core disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace, and was called the Absolute Palm by the young generation of the Windy Nation. His Zhenqi and palm art were extremely powerful. It was said that he was only slightly weaker than the Emerald Young Master. Very simple, 3 palm attacks will do. It is not time for the real battle yet. As you wish, let's do it right here. On the stage, Luo Xinglia, Mu Fengyuan, and all the inner elders of the Sky Cloud Martial School were all staring at the two without blinking. It was rare to see a battle between the most powerful young warriors, especially Luo Xinglia. He couldn't hide the nervousness on his face anymore. He was both worried and expectant at the same time. Ji Xueyan and Yi Xian's eyes were even brighter than before. To be able to witness the battle between their brother disciple Liu Wuxiang and Child Hanshan, this trip was definitely worth it. "Please." Luo Hanshan took a few steps forward. One of his hands was held behind his back, while the other hand was slightly raised. Liu Wuxiang walked over with big steps. "I hope you will try your best, otherwise you won't be able to compete with me." "Of course." Chapter 22. The two stood 10 steps away from each other and started accumulating their power. After a few breaths, Lu Hanshan's face was covered in a dense purple mist. No one knew what kind of martial art he had been practicing. He let out a deep growl, then suddenly rushed towards Liu Wuxiang while launching a palm attack with his right hand. Before he arrived, his power had already arrived, and a light ripple appeared in the air. Liu Wuxiang had a serious look on his face. He stomped on the ground and cracked it, then darted out like a bolt of lightning and launched a palm attack against Lu Hanshan's. Boom! A transparent stream of air spread out in all directions, sending the tables and chairs flying. At the same time, the two figures separated and shot backwards. Yi Xian was shocked. She didn't expect that a fight between 2 late condensing reality realm martial artists would be so powerful. Even the heavy red sandalwood tables and chairs were blown away by the force of the impact. Ji Xueyan was only 1 step away from the late condensing reality realm, so she wasn't too surprised. Of course, she knew that she was no match for these two. She wouldn't even be able to take 1 palm attack from them. The two of them tried their best to control their bodies, then simultaneously moved towards the middle of each other. Their bodies were releasing an intense fighting intent that could even be sensed from a long distance away. I don't think we need the third palm attack. If this is all you've got, the second palm attack will be enough to decide the winner. A cyan-colored stream of air rose up from Liu Wuxiang's body. This stream of air was extremely sharp. The air that came into contact with it was twisted and cut apart, making a sizzling sound. Blue murderous qi. Lu Hanzhan said in a low voice. The look on his face turned even more serious. Luo Xinglie, who was sitting in the main seat, was even more nervous than Lu Hanzhan. This blue murderous qi was one of the most powerful martial arts of the Emerald Martial Palace. It was a low-rank Earth Realm martial art, and had a very obvious effect on breaking the internal Zhen qi. It was only taught to the most core disciples. Even ordinary core disciples couldn't do it. Judging from the power that was showing from Liu Wuxiang's body, he had obviously reached the 8th level of the blue murderous qi. How amazing! But how would Luo Hanzhan deal with it? Liu Wuxiang said blandly, I don't think there's any need to continue. Not necessarily. Lu Hanzhan took a deep breath. Suddenly, a blue vein bulged on his forehead, then a second one, a third one. Something amazing happened. His eyes turned from black to red, then from red to purple, and at last, 2 purple streams of air came out of his eyes, drifting out. Purple Eye Ice Heart, the 8th level of the extreme purple art. Good job. Luo Xinglie was shocked at first, but then he was overjoyed. The other inner elders of the Sky Cloud Martial School all showed smiles on their faces. The extreme purple art was a low-rank Earth Realm martial art, divided into 9 levels, and each level was more difficult than the previous one. Before, they all thought that Luo Hanzhan wouldn't be able to rival Liu Wuxiang, but now, they didn't have to worry anymore. Seeing Luo Xinglie's excited face, Luo Hanzhan was also very happy. Thinking about what he had been through in the past 2 years, he had been stuck at the 6th level of the purple extreme art, unable to make any progress. After that, he had lost to the current number 1 disciple, Zhu Mai, in the core disciple exam. Everyone thought that he had reached the end of his potential, and that he might not even be able to keep the number 2 disciple in the future. Now, no one would suspect him. This time, it was Liu Wuxiang who attacked first. His palm, which was wrapped in cyan airflow, was violently thrown out, as if it was going to destroy the entire hall. Luo Hanzhan remained calm and collected. He threw out his palm to meet the incoming attack. Different from Liu Wuxiang, when his palm attack was thrown out, it didn't even make a swishing sound. However, wherever his palms passed through, the air suddenly started to vibrate intensely, as if it was boiling water. 2 palms collided. A few cracks appeared on the ground, and the violent power spread out in a spiral shape, shattering all the tables and chairs in the surroundings, as if they had been cut into pieces by thousands of knives. Facing the incoming sharp power, Ji Shuiyan released her qi and threw out her palm in front of her body. Crackle! The incoming power was blocked by Ji Shuiyan's palm, causing a series of explosive noises, which even made Ji Shuiyan's face slightly pale. Fortunately, it was only the aftermath of the attack, and the power had already been reduced by 70 to 80%. Yi Xian, who was sitting next to Ji Shuiyan, exclaimed, "If it weren't for you, Sister Shuiyan, I would have been seriously injured by the aftermath of that attack." Ji Shuiyan said, "The Cyan Great Murderous Qi is especially good at breaking internal Zhen Qi. Combined with the pure purple extreme ART's Zhen Qi, its destructive power is extraordinary." Except for Ji Shuiyan and Yi Xian, the rest of the people in the hall turned a blind eye to that fierce qi, as if there was an invisible wall in front of them, which had absorbed all of the power. Outside the hall, Yi Chen's heart was beating fast. Is this what a late condensing reality realm fight looks like? It's so intense, it's not any weaker than the top martial artists in the 21st century TV series. I wonder when I will be able to reach this level. Tap, tap, tap. Along with the explosion of qi, Liu Wuxiang's body swayed, and he took 13 steps back in a row, each step leaving a deep footprint on the ground. Luo Hanzhan took 15 steps back, and on the last step, he even broke the bricks under his feet, sinking 3 inches deep into the ground. In the end, Liu Wuxiang was slightly better than Luo Hanzhan. Throwing a complicated glance at Luo Hanzhan, Liu Wuxiang said, I am good at palm arts after all, so this time we are even, what do you think? Luo Hanshan said, let's start the third palm attack. No need, I have already understood your power. Although you are not as powerful as my head disciple, you have finally regained your Prince Hanshan's power. Liu Wuxiang shook his head. Luo Xinglie saw that the fight was over, so he laughed out loud and said, the disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace are indeed worthy of their reputation, young heroes. Mu Fengyuan said, sorry, Leader Luo. Hehe, it's nothing. Luo Xinglie was very happy. His son Luo Hanshan had returned to the top of the martial geniuses, and he, as a father, was also proud. He grinned and said, Hanshan, find a seat and sit down. Luo Hanshan nodded and said to Liu Wuxiang, tell Pei Wuxuang that I, Luo Hanshan, am back. I will. Both of them found their seats and sat down without saying anything else. Outside the hall, Yi Chen came back to his senses. He bowed to Luo Xinglie and said, Leader, elders, disciple Yi Chen greets all of you. The head elder said blandly, come in. Walking into the hall, Yi Chen saw Yi Xian, and Ji Xuan, who was sitting right next to her. He knew her as well. They had met a couple of years ago. She was no longer the little girl she used to be. It was just that the world had changed, and he had basically guessed why they were here. After all, their relationship was not good enough for them to visit each other yet. Luo Xinglie calmed himself down and said seriously, Yi Chen, do you know these two? Yes. Yi Chen took a deep breath. Since it is a private matter, then you can solve it in private. What do you think? Luo Xinglie was not in the mood to care about the personal matters of the younger generation. They were not even core disciples. Yes. Ji Xuan stood up. She said to Luo Xinglie and Mu Fengyuan, please allow me to talk to him in private. Luo Xinglie and Mu Fengyuan nodded. Walking in front of Yi Chen, Ji Xuan said blandly, let's go out and talk. Yi Chen did not say anything, he just followed her out of the hall. As for Yi Xian, she hesitated for a second, but after saying goodbye to everyone, she also followed. Chapter 23. Outside the hall was a plaza paved with white marble. A screen wall was erected on the plaza. It was 33 feet tall and 24 feet wide. It was extremely grand. Beside the screen wall, Ji Xuan looked Yi Chen up and down. After a long time, she said, I'm here because… Yi Chen interrupted her and said, I know. You know? Ji Xuan was a little surprised. In her impression, although he was not stupid, he was definitely not smart. But this time, he seemed to have changed. Yi Chen said self-deprecatingly, it can't be that you're here to see me. Ji Xuan shook her head, of course not. Regardless of whether you've guessed it or not, I have to tell you personally that it's impossible between the two of us. So you're here to discuss the annulment of the engagement. After all, if I don't agree, it will be very troublesome for you to resolve the engagement alone. At the very least, you will have to face the dissuasion of many elders, especially since you won't be able to face my mother. She treats you very well and is like a sister to your mother. If we both agree, those elders won't be able to say anything. Ji Xuan opened her mouth and found that she did not know what to say. This was different from what she had imagined. She had thought that he would be very angry. No matter what, it was humiliating to have the engagement annulled by the female side. She had already prepared a way to deal with this. That was to let him know the difference in strength between the two of them. The two of them were not compatible, and continuing to be entangled would only bring humiliation to themselves. But now, these countermeasures had become useless and she was caught unprepared. Taking a deep breath, Ji Xuan found that she had underestimated Yi Chen. At the same time, she felt a little sullen and said in a stiff tone, you're right, but there is one thing you must remember. Even if you don't agree, I will still annul the engagement. You should have heard of the saying dragons don't cohabit with snakes. The two of us are not people of the same world. I still have a long way to go in the future, and the gap between us will only grow bigger. Dragons don't cohabit with snakes. Yi Chen chuckled and said, what a good metaphor. You think of yourself as a true dragon, and I as a little snake. However, it's too early for you to make a metaphor. It's not certain who is the true dragon. Moreover, Even a little snake has the chance to transform into a dragon. Ji Xuan could not help but let out a cold smile. The other party was simply boasting shamelessly. Based on the current situation, it was obvious who was the real dragon and who was the little snake, but he actually said that it was uncertain who was the real dragon. Did he think that one day he could become a real dragon and soar through the heavens? Alright, I'm not interested in arguing with you about the established facts. I just want to ask you one thing. Do you agree to break off the engagement? Yi Chen replied without hesitation, why wouldn't I agree? I agree to cancel the engagement. Yi Chen knew his potential very well. As long as he had enough time, reaching the condensing reality realm, clasping Yuan realm, or even the astral reaching realm would not be a problem for him. Why would he bother with a woman? Besides, even if he didn't agree, so what? She had even invited the inner master of the Emerald Martial Palace. If he didn't agree, he would only be humiliated. Now that he had agreed, he had turned from passive to active, and had kept his last bit of dignity. Of course, what she had given him today, he would definitely return it in the future. He wanted to let her know that whether or not she was a real dragon was not determined by words, but by actions. Both of them remained silent for a while. After a while, Ji Xuan slightly scratched the crystal ring on her left hand with the middle finger of her right hand. A dim light flashed, and a manual suddenly appeared in her hand. Yi Chen's pupils shrank. A storage ring. A storage ring was a legendary treasure for normal people, but it was a must-have item for high-level martial artists. The inside of the ring had its own space, and could store a huge amount of items, such as gold, pellets, herbs, clothes, weapons. They could all be stored inside, and it would be weightless. He didn't expect her to have a storage ring. Among the core disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School, only 2 or 3 people had a storage ring. This is a top-rank mortal realm manual, Iron Bone Godly Palm. If you can learn a thing or two from it, you will be able to beat other martial artists at the same level. But don't worry, this is not a martial art from the Emerald Martial Palace. I got it from a Jianghu bandit that I killed. It will not be a threat to you. Consider it my compensation to you. Ji Xuan slightly raised her chin, as if she had just thrown out an ordinary item. I will take what I want myself. Yi Chen rejected without hesitation. What a joke, it was only a top-rank mortal realm manual, there was no need for him to sell his pride. Not to mention, if he accepted it, she would look down on him and think that he was a coward. Ji Xuan frowned, don't you understand? With your talent, I don't know when you will become an inner disciple. Yi Chen said coldly, you don't have to worry about cancelling the engagement. I will do what I said. If there is nothing else, I will leave now. After saying that, Yi Chen turned around and walked towards the main hall. He needed to report to Luo Xinglia before he could leave. Ji Xuan was shocked, then she sneered. She thought that Yi Chen was doing it on purpose for her to see. Otherwise, why would he let go of a top-rank mortal realm manual? After all, a top-rank mortal realm manual was not easy to find. Unfortunately, Yi Chen was just wasting his time, she would never like him. On the way, Yi Xian stopped Yi Chen. Why are you so stubborn? Just take it. Why are you so angry? Yi Xian had a lot of power in the Yi family. Before, even Yi Chen did not dare to argue with her. There are so many manuals in the Sky Cloud Martial School, there is no need. Yi Xian shook her head and said, you have changed, you have become unreasonable. I know you are feeling humiliated, but to be honest, you and Sister Xuan are not a good match. Her future husband should be someone like the 4 childs, not a nobody like you. Of course, I am not belittling you, a nobody also has his own way of living, you are better at living a stable life. I am being unreasonable. Never mind, Yi Chen did not want to talk to these 2 arrogant women anymore. Sometimes, the more reasonable your words were, the more likely they would think that you were being calculative. If you were being unreasonable, the more aggressive they would be, the better it would be. Therefore, the best way would be to ignore them. See you at the end of the year. After saying that, Yi Chen walked into the guest hall. In the hall, Mu Fengyuan glanced at Yi Chen, at least you know yourself. Ji Xuan is one of the most talented disciples in the Emerald Martial Palace. She is indeed not compatible with you. Yi Chen cursed in his mind, old man, it's none of your business whether I'm qualified or not. You people from the Emerald Martial Palace are all the same, arrogant, thinking that you are no longer a normal human being. Now, even Yi Xian has gotten this weird habit. One day, I will beat all of your disciples one by one. I will let you know that we are all humans, and the Emerald Martial Palace is nothing special. Although he thought so, Yi Chen would not say it out loud. Talking back to a late clasping Yuan realm martial artist, who was also an inner master of the Emerald Martial Palace, would be suicidal. Leader, I will leave now. Yi Chen bowed to Luo Xinglie. Luo Xinglie waved his hand, since the problem is solved, you can leave now. Yes. Turning around, Yi Chen did not even look at Ji Xueyan and left without hesitation. Yi Xian, who was standing right next to Ji Xueyan, twitched her mouth. She felt a bit embarrassed. They were all disciples of the Yi family, but why was there such a huge gap between them? Ji Xueyan said softly, I hope he will not tell Aunt Hui about this. I don't think he would dare, Yi Xian said without hesitation. Chapter 24. It had been 10 days since the engagement was cancelled. In these 10 days, Yi Chen had taken the first windy dew pellet. This pellet was just like the rumors said, after taking it, all the distracting thoughts would disappear, and he would feel refreshed. It helped Yi Chen to open up all the meridians in his heart, allowing his qi to flow freely under the training of the heart fire. The heart movement and qi flow were also the fourth pure Yuan art rotation. Besides that, Yi Chen had already started training the golden swallow art. This Qinggong required a lot of qi, it had to be pure and without any impurities, or else it would be very difficult to train it to the highest level. The good thing was that the qi from the pure Yuan art was unimaginably pure, and the impurities had already been removed during the second qi rotation. When he reached the fourth qi rotation, after being trained by the heart fire, his qi had gained more spirituality, which made training the golden swallow art much easier. These few days, my qi is getting restless, it should be a sign that I am about to break through to the mortal realm stage 7. The training speed of the pure Yuan art's fourth qi rotation is indeed amazing, but to reach the condensing reality realm is still very difficult. What can I do? To be honest, I have only been in this world for half a year, unlike other people who have been training for 4 to 5 years, or even 7 to 8 years. There is no way to compare. Ever since he knew that Yi Xian had reached the early condensing reality realm, Yi Chen knew that he had to work even harder, or else he might not be able to compete with Yi Xian at the Yi family meeting. Besides, Yi Xian, the second son of his uncle, Yi Tang, was not easy to deal with either. After all, he and Yi Xian were the two geniuses of the Yi family. He took out a jade bottle from his pocket, opened the cork, and a blue pellet rolled out onto Yi Chen's palm. Qi boosting pellet, the most commonly used pellet for mortal realm warriors, it was worth more than 3,000 silvers. Right now, Yi Chen was only one step away from the mortal realm stage 7. He might be able to break through in a week, but he couldn't wait that long. He was planning to use the qi boosting pellet to increase his cultivation and break through to the 7th stage. This way, he could save 7 days of hard work. 7 days of hard work might not mean much to normal people, but to Yi Chen, it meant a lot. With his comprehensive ability, he could learn a high-rank mortal realm skill in 7 days. Even the top-rank mortal realm skill, the Lone Peak of 13 Swords, only took him 2 to 3 months. And that was because the Lone Peak of 13 Swords was incomplete and needed to be perfected. Otherwise, a month would have been more than enough. Therefore, these 7 days had to be saved and not wasted. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, Yi Chen flicked his finger. The blue qi replenishing pill flew into his mouth in an arc and slid down his throat into his body. Gulp. The qi replenishing pill melted the moment it came into contact with water, turning into an extremely pure vital energy. All of a sudden, the pure Yuan qi rushed out of his dantian like a hungry wolf that had smelled blood. Within a few breaths, it had wrapped around the pure Yuan qi from the qi replenishing pill and started to refine it. Such a powerful refining ability. If it was the cloud qi spell, the efficiency would be at least 2 times lower. The higher the quality of the qi, the faster the Yuan qi could be refined. This was a well-known fact in the true spirit continent. Of course, if the total amount of qi was high, it would also help a lot in refining yuan qi. Under normal circumstances, it was not uncommon for quantity to beat quality. An hour had passed. A light popping sound came from Yi Chen's body. His dantian, which had already expanded a lot, swelled up again, like an inflated balloon. In the center of his dantian, the pure and transparent cyclone suddenly sped up, like a spiritual nebula, constantly swallowing and changing, absorbing the new internal qi. After a while, Yi Chen opened his eyes and slowly let out a breath. His face was filled with joy. He had finally reached Mortal Realm Stage 7. There was not much difference between the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 6 and Mortal Realm Stage 7, but that was only for normal people. If it was Yi Chen, even a little bit of improvement would greatly increase his fighting power, and he would be able to use more of his martial skills. Today is not a good day to continue learning the pure Yuan art. I should consolidate my cultivation first. Yi Chen knew the importance of a solid foundation. If the foundation was solid, then he could continue to improve. If the foundation was not solid enough, then he would be like a castle in the air that could collapse at any time. He might even lose his mind and become a cripple when he tried to break through. After a day, Yi Chen had completely consolidated his cultivation and had even made some progress. This qi replenishing pill could save him a month of hard work. Subtracting the 7 days he used to break through, he still had 21 days left, which was just enough for him to take another step forward. In the following days, Yi Chen took the second windy dew pellet and tried to break through to the 5th qi coil of the pure Yuan art. Of course, life was not like a pool of stagnant water. After the first time he met the outer disciple Wu Zongming, the two became friends. They would chat and spar with each other during their free time. Wu Zongming thought highly of himself. He thought that although Yi Chen's achievements in martial skills were high, there was still a gap between him and Wu Zongming. He did not expect that after limiting his cultivation to Mortal Realm Stage 7, Wu Zongming would be at a disadvantage in a real fight. His high-rank Mortal Realm martial skill, Burning Fist, did not seem to be able to win against Yi Chen's King Kong Fist. He did not know that Yi Chen's King Kong Fist had already reached the highest level. Under the condition of limiting his cultivation, it would be strange if the Burning Fist could win against him. There was no sun or moon in the mountains, and another half a month had passed. That night, Yi Chen applied the body-enhancing paste on his body, planning to break through to the 5th qi coil of the pure Yuan art. He wanted to combine his spirit, qi, hands, eyes, and body into one. As for applying the body-enhancing paste, it was not useless. The body was one of the 6 forces of the human body. Only when the body was strong and full of energy could it increase the success rate. Pushing his pure Yuan art qi to its limit, Yi Chen put his tongue on the roof of his mouth, his eyes focused on his nose focused on his heart, and he quickly entered the state of meditation. Hualala, the outside world was silent, but inside Yi Chen's body, the sound of his qi flowing was like a small river, endless. For a warrior, the inner 3 forces of the 6 forces had almost been combined into one. For example, the spirit and qi. The first step for a warrior was to convert the spirit and qi into qi. The spirit and qi were already inseparable, and could be converted at any time. The combination of the spirit and the spirit was the spirit, and with a high degree of concentration, the two could also be combined. The difficult part was how to combine the qi and the spirit, which was called the combination of the spirit and the qi. After many days of meditation, Yi Chen already had an idea. With a thought, the qi flowed along the meridians to the center of the eyebrows, where the soul resided, and the soul was the spirit. After 36 revolutions, the qi that was contaminated with the soul power returned to the dantian. Yi Chen knew he had succeeded. He had successfully combined the spirit, qi, and the spirit. Next was the outer 3 forces. The outer 3 forces seemed simple, such as the eyes, the hands, and the body. But in fact, it was very shallow, and even a normal person could do it after hard training. The outer 3 forces of the pure Yuan art was to extract the 3 types of Yuan qi from the limbs, eyes, and the center of the body. These 3 types of Yuan qi were closely related to the 3 forces, and they could sense each other. This was the real outer 3 forces. First, he extracted the hidden yuan qi from the center of the body. Yi Chen did not dare to be careless, and he was very careful. The center of the body was one of the most important parts of the human body. If there was a slight mistake, the person would become paralyzed, and it would be very difficult to cure, so he could not be careless. The qi slowly seeped into the center of the body, and then it pulled out a very obscure yuan qi, and slowly merged with the qi. When the two completely merged, Yi Chen released the yuan qi that had merged with the qi back into the center of the body. Using the same method, when Yi Chen also merged the outer three forces with the qi, big beads of sweat dripped from his forehead, and his body was completely wet. But it was all worth it. Now that his qi contained the yuan qi in his limbs, eyes, and the center of the body, it also contained his spirit. In terms of reaction speed, subconscious speed, attack speed, and the sensitivity of his eyes, there was a qualitative change. Besides that, after the pure yuan art had entered the fifth transformation, the speed of absorbing and refining yuan qi had reached a very impressive level. 1 day of training was basically equivalent to 3 to 4 days of training in the past. Chapter 25. Outside the boundless mountain range was a very complicated environment. There were forests, swamps, wild mountains, and endless water bodies. These days, a human figure could often be seen flying back and forth, killing beasts after beasts. My luck is not that good. None of the 13 rank 2 beasts managed to condense an inner pellet, and there were even 4 top rank 2 beasts. Yi Chen cut open the beast's body with his great steel sword and found nothing inside. He was a bit annoyed. Ever since his pure yuan art reached the highest realm of the fifth transformation, Yi Chen knew that if he wanted to improve quickly, he would have to rely on external objects, such as the inner pellet of a beast. The inner pellet of a beast was the essence of the beast after absorbing the natural yuan qi. Theoretically, a 1-year-old inner pellet could save a warrior a year of hard work, and a 5-year-old inner pellet could save 5 years of hard work. However, it was only in theory. The inner pellet contained not only the essence of yuan qi, but also the beast qi. If a normal warrior touched a little bit of the beast qi, he would be in danger of going crazy, and if he touched too much, his body would explode. Therefore, no matter how much yuan qi essence there was in the Naiden, a normal martial artist would not be able to fully utilize it. They would have to use an evil warding potion to dissolve the demonic qi within. It would already be considered good if the remaining yuan qi was 1/5 or 1/10. If they were unlucky, the entire Naiden would be dissolved, and all their efforts would be in vain. Of course, if a warrior reached the clasping yuan realm, he could use his Zhen qi to absorb the beast qi and use the inner pellet perfectly. However, the inner pellet had to be below the clasping yuan realm, which meant that a clasping yuan realm warrior would not be able to do anything to an inner pellet that was above rank 4. The strong smell of blood attracted a lot of beasts. Yi Chen closed his eyes and used his powerful soul power to sense a powerful beast qi within 30 meters. It should be a top rank 2 beast. Shoo! His body flashed, and Yi Chen jumped into the air like a huge bird. He glided 20 meters in the air, and fiercely jumped towards a big tree. Swoosh! The big tree was cut in half, and a beast that looked like a wolf and a tiger was exposed. A top rank 2 beast, the tiger wolf beast. Yi Chen flicked his wrist, the great steel sword turned into a bright sword light and pierced forward. It was the most powerful sword move of the lone peak of 13 swords, the peak of perfection. The tiger wolf demonic beast did not expect Yi Chen to act so quickly. Just as it moved its body, its chest was stabbed. The injured tiger wolf demonic beast was extremely fierce. It clawed at Yi Chen's arm. Courting death, winding road around peak. Yi Chen ignored his opponent's attack and poured his inner qi into his fine steel sword. He swung it in the opposite direction and split open the beast's chest. Then, he chopped off the beast's claws. The powerful peak grade 2 demonic beast could not even withstand 2 moves from Yi Chen. Its body went limp and it slumped to the ground. It was obvious that it would not survive. Looking at the tiger wolf demonic beast's wound, Yi Chen's eyes lit up and he said in ecstasy, "My luck is really changing. This tiger wolf demonic beast has an inner core in its body." Cutting open the tiger wolf demonic beast's body, Yi Chen reached out his hand and took out an egg-sized, milky yellow inner core with a hint of pink. According to the information on the demonic beasts, once a rank 2 demonic beast had an inner core, it would have a higher chance of becoming a rank 3 demonic beast. If there was a slight change in the color of the inner core, it meant that it was not far from becoming a rank 3 demonic beast. This inner core was milky yellow with a hint of pink. It was obviously a sign that it was about to become a rank 2 demonic beast. It was much stronger than a normal rank 2 demonic beast, and judging from its size, it should have been at least a year old. A year-old inner core, even if 90% of its demonic chi and yuan chi were removed by the evil warding potion, it would still save at least a month of hard work. Not to mention this inner core that was about to become a rank 2 demonic beast, it might even double its original value, which would save at least 2 months of hard work. Looking at the inner core in his hand, Yi Chen could not control his emotions no matter how calm he was. 2 months of hard work. It would at least help him reach the late mortal realm stage 7. If he was lucky, after using the evil warding potion, the inner core would still have 1/5 of yuan chi left. That would mean 4 months of hard work and he would definitely be able to reach the mortal realm stage 8. Taking out a jade box from his pocket, Yi Chen carefully put the inner core into the box and closed the lid to prevent the demonic chi and yuan chi from leaking out. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen woke up from his ecstasy and looked at the dead body of the tiger wolf demonic beast. The materials from a peak rank 2 demonic beast can be sold for at least 1,000 silvers. I can't waste it. After all, I still need to save money to buy the evil warding potion, which costs 5,000 silvers per bottle. Yi Chen mumbled to himself as he squatted down to collect the materials from the dead beasts. He did not miss a single thing. After collecting all the materials, Yi Chen frowned. The big leather bag he brought was almost full. If only he had a storage ring. Of course, he was just thinking about it. Among the core disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School, only his senior sister Zhu Mai and Luo Hanshan had a storage ring. How could he possibly have one? However, from this, it could be seen how powerful the Emerald Martial School was. Even Ji Xueyan, who was at the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm, had a storage ring. There were countless geniuses in the Emerald Martial School, and there must be a lot of disciples who were more powerful than Ji Xueyan. Sigh, a rank 7 martial school is indeed a rank 7 martial school. They are rich and have all kinds of treasures. My Yi family is one of the top 8 families. Only my father and some of the elders of the family have a storage ring. My mother is one of the most powerful outer elders of the Rudra Martial School, so it is normal for her to have one. It is impossible for anyone else to have one. Shaking his head, Yi Chen tied up the leather bag and was about to leave. Suddenly a strong wind suddenly appeared in the woods. Sand and pebbles were blown into the air. Some small plants were uprooted and flew into the air along with the strong wind. Yi Chen was shocked. What kind of strange wind is this? This is too sudden. A woo. A horrifying roar was heard. It sounded like it was coming from hundreds of meters away. Not good, it was a rank 3 beast. Only rank 3 beasts and above could release their demonic chi and create a gust of wind to confuse people's sight and senses. Before Yi Chen's soul had traveled to this world, he had seen the part where Wu Song was fighting a tiger in the water margin. Before the tiger came out, there would be a gust of wind. But now, this rank 3 beast was way more powerful than the tiger. The wind it created could be compared to a typhoon. Without further ado, Yi Chen activated the pure Yuan art with all of his strength. He jumped up and flew out like a huge bird, trying to avoid the attack of the rank 3 beast. Crack, crack, the sound of trees breaking was heard. After a few breaths, a beast the size of a water buffalo appeared where Yi Chen had been. It was tall and muscular. There was no hair on its body, but it was covered with black scales. Its tail was a long scorpion's tail. The hook at the end of the tail was shining with a grey light. Obviously, it was coated with poison, and anyone who got hit by it would die for sure. Yi Chen turned around and took a look. He immediately pushed his chi as hard as he could, pushed his golden swallow art to its limit, and ran as fast as lightning. This strange beast was a scorpion-tail demonic wolf. Even among the rank 3 beasts, it was a dominating existence. Even a mid-condensing reality realm warrior would have to stay away from it. Chapter 26. Run. Run as fast as you can. Yi Chen knew that even if he reached the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10, he would still not be able to fight against the scorpion tail demon wolf. The gap of 1 cultivation level was not that easy to make up for. As for the third disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy, Lynch, he was able to beat Wu Wanshan mainly because of his martial arts and martial skills. The North Snow Martial Academy was a rank 7 martial institution, which was a huge power that had been developed for hundreds of years. They had countless rare martial arts and treasures, and their resources were unimaginably deep. However, Wu Wanshan was only a lone wolf. Even his most powerful sword art was created by himself. The Golden Swallow art had been trained to perfection by Yi Chen. When he performed it at full power, his feet would not even touch the ground, and he would run along the grass and trees. Every second, he would be able to cover a distance of 10 meters, which was no less than a real wild goose. A woo. Before Yi Chen could let out a sigh of relief, a cloud of strong demonic chi shot towards him from behind. Yi Chen did not even need to look to know that it was the scorpion tail demon wolf's demonic chi bullet. Any warrior below the condensing reality realm would have their blood dried up and their limbs go numb. With his powerful soul power, Yi Chen's body flashed, and he easily dodged the attack. Boom! The ground on the right in front of him had been blown up, and all the plants nearby had withered instantly. Such a powerful demonic chi bullet, this scorpion tail demon wolf's pellet must be very powerful. If I could get it, it would save me at least half a year of hard work. Wait, what am I thinking? Yi Chen felt that his thoughts were ridiculous. Whether or not he could escape was still a problem, and he was still thinking about the pellet of the scorpion tail demon wolf. How reckless! Boom! Boom! Waves of demonic chi bullets came from behind, but Yi Chen could always find the best route to dodge. It gave people a feeling that he was walking in a rain of bullets. The scorpion tail demon wolf was furious. It stopped shooting the demonic chi bullets, and started to chase after the human in front of it. 50 steps. 45 steps. 40 steps. Yi Chen's scalp went numb. He hurriedly threw the big leather bag into the air, and accurately landed on the top of a huge tree. It would be hard to see from below, and it would also be prepared for him to come back later. Whoosh! After throwing away nearly 100 pounds of demonic beast materials, Yi Chen's speed increased drastically. He was now as fast as an early condensing reality realm warrior. Added with his powerful soul power, he was unpredictable. But even so, the scorpion-tailed demon wolf was still slowly closing in, albeit by a very small margin. The two of them, one chasing the other, unknowingly entered the depths of the silent hills. The surroundings were dead silent. The scorpion-tailed demon wolf that was chasing behind seemed to be a little afraid. It slowed down quite a bit, its huge head looking left and right from time to time. Suddenly, a huge black shadow jumped out from the bushes and bit the scorpion-tailed magic wolf's neck. Because it was too fast, its body slid on the ground for more than 10 meters. The scorpion-tailed demon wolf struggled with all its might and howled in fear. Unfortunately, the black shadow was much stronger than the scorpion-tailed demonic wolf. With a single swipe of its claw, it shattered the scorpion-tailed demonic wolf's head, causing blood to splatter everywhere. When Yi Chen turned around, he happened to meet the eyes of the black shadow. The pair of blood-red eyes were sharper than the edge of a knife, extremely evil. Rank 4 demonic beast, red blood demon beast. Yi Chen was extremely frustrated. He did not expect that after the scorpion-tailed demon wolf, an even more powerful red blood demon beast would appear. If that was it, then he might still have a chance of survival. But the problem was that he was lost, and he did not know if he had reached the depths of the silent hills. Although he was still hoping for a miracle, Yi Chen rationally believed that he was in the depths of the silent hills, otherwise there would not be a rank 4 demonic beast. Seeing that the red blood demon beast was chasing after him, Yi Chen forced himself to calm down. He looked around with his sharp eyes, and finally fixed his eyes on the rock mountain in front of him. There was a huge horizontal crack, it looked like it was cut out by a blade, it was immeasurably deep. Without caring about what would happen next, Yi Chen stomped on the ground with his right foot, and his body flew out diagonally into the crack like a swallow returning to its nest. Boom! The rock mountain was shaking. The red blood demon beast's body was too big, it could not follow Yi Chen in, but its huge power still caused the rocks to crack, and small rocks to fly everywhere. Yi Chen did not think that the entrance outside would be able to stop the red blood demon beast. He took out the luminous pearl from his pocket, and with the help of the dim light, he walked deeper into the cave. After walking for a long time, Yi Chen could no longer hear anything from the outside. Drip! A water drop fell. Yi Chen instinctively dodged it. Before, I did not know how fast my reflexes were, but I could not believe that I could even sense a drop of water and dodge it so easily. If it was before, even if Yi Chen could sense a drop of water, his body would not be able to react. But now that he had trained the pure Yuan art, his body and mind were almost at the same level. After walking for a while, Yi Chen felt a breeze on his face. He was instantly excited. He quickened his pace, and pulled out his great steel sword with his right hand. He started to accumulate his qi in his body. Woo! A cool breeze blew past, and Yi Chen's eyes suddenly opened up. In front of his eyes was a huge space. It was 4 to 5 meters tall, and he did not know how long or wide it was. It was an underground world. There was a river, trees, and a stone room in the underground world. Outside the stone room was a stone pavilion. Inside there was a stone table and 4 stone chairs. Did someone live here before? Yi Chen was shocked. He thought he had found the exit, but he did not expect to find himself underground. Hualala! The water in the river splashed everywhere. It seemed like there were fish in the river, and the sound of water breaking could be heard from time to time. As for the trees, they were very strange. They were different from the big trees on the ground. The grey branches were like rocks, and there were only a few dozen grey leaves hanging on the branches. Not daring to be careless, Yi Chen walked towards the stone room. Is anyone here? Outside the stone room, Yi Chen raised his voice. He called out a few times, but there was no response. Yi Chen took a deep breath, pushed open the door and walked into the stone room. The stone room was not big, it was only 3 meters in length and width, and the walls were inlaid with long and sized luminous stones, illuminating the inside. The first thing that caught his eyes was the huge human painting on the wall in front of him. There was a beautiful woman in the painting. Her hair was like a waterfall, and her eyes were like stars. She looked like a spirit in the wind, like the king of flowers. She looked like she was one of a kind. On the bottom right corner, there was a name, Xianhu. Seeing this name, Yi Chen was shocked. It was Xianhu. There were countless powerful warriors in the true spirit continent, but there were only a few who could truly rule the world, such as Shu King, Evil King, Dragon King, and Xianhu. As the only female among the top warriors, Xuanho's life was legendary. She became a condensing reality realm warrior at the age of 11, reached the clasping Yuan realm at the age of 14, reached the astral reaching realm at the age of 18, reached the Sea of Souls realm at the age of 25, and reached the life and death realm at the age of 35, becoming the youngest life and death realm warrior in the past 1,000 years. She was so powerful that she was called the Xianhu. Chapter 27. How powerful was Xianhu? No one could say for sure. Some said she was in the top 5, some said she was weaker than the Evil King and the Dragon King, some said she was second only to Shu King, and some said she was the most powerful in the world, and she was so mysterious that she had already touched the edge of the Great Tao. Of course, all of these were just speculations. But it was undeniable that the mysterious queen had indeed reached an unimaginable level. She had killed 3 master-level warriors from 100 miles away, broken through the earth vein with one palm attack, caused a volcano to erupt, changed the environment, and moved her own mountain to a place tens of thousands of miles away. Even a nameless brat like Yi Chen had heard about all of these things. Looking at the portrait carefully, Yi Chen found that he could not see Xuanho's face clearly, as if the painter could not describe Xuanho's face, and could only blur it to create a hazy beauty. After a long time, Yi Chen withdrew his gaze, and a question arose in his mind. Who are the people who live here? How could there be a portrait of Xianhu? It should be noted that Xianhu had ruled the world for more than 10 years, and only a few people were qualified to see her. Judging from the ink, This portrait was not more than 10 years old. Also, where was the owner of the stone room? He hung this well-preserved portrait on the wall, which obviously showed that he valued it a lot, and should have brought it with him when he went on a long trip. What is this? Yi Chen fixed his eyes on the center of the stone room, where there was a scorch mark. If he looked carefully, he could see an inconspicuous ring in the pale white ashes. Picking it up, Yi Chen wiped it with his sleeve. On the back of the green ring, 2 ancient characters were engraved, mid-rank. Yi Chen was shocked at first, and then he was overjoyed. This inconspicuous ring was a storage ring, and it was a priceless mid-rank storage ring. If a low-rank storage ring was enough to bankrupt a normal mid-rank family, then a mid-rank storage ring would be enough to make a big family like the Yi family bleed. Probably only the big martial institutions would have 1 or 2 of them, and they would only be owned by the leaders. Normal people would not even dare to dream about it. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen operated his internal qi, and slowly poured it into the storage ring. Buzz! The storage ring shook slightly, and a trace of faintly discernible vibration spread out, which was captured by Yi Chen's soul power. In the next moment, Yi Chen saw the space inside the storage ring. It was a standard cube with a length, width, and height of 20 feet. Its entire body shone with a misty light and was slightly transparent, as if it had been cut out from the void. It was even larger than the living room of an ordinary family. There were 2 secret manuals, a sheathed long saber, and a pile of jagged jade stones the size of an egg, glowing with a faint white light. Could it be that this is a spirit stone? Focusing his attention on the jade, Yi Chen's originally calm emotions began to fluctuate again. With a thought, Yi Chen took out a piece of jade, closed his eyes, and sent his inner qi into it. Boom! As if the floodgates had been opened, the majestic yuan qi within the spirit stone ferociously gushed out and rushed into Yi Chen's meridians with unstoppable force. Not good. Warriors below the condensing reality realm are not qualified to train with spirit stones. Yi Chen's face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He hurriedly operated his pure yuan art, and forcibly cut off the connection with the spirit stone. Woo! 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 Taking a few deep breaths, Yi Chen still had some lingering fear. He did not expect that he would be so happy that he would forget about the taboo of being a warrior, and almost lose all his meridians. Fortunately, the pure Yuan Art's inner qi was extremely pure, and it had been trained to the highest level of the 6 meridians, so he could barely cut off the connection. Otherwise, if it were someone else, even if their meridians were not damaged, they would still pass out due to the Yuan qi. Although the meridians in his arms were still aching, Yi Chen still laughed out loud. Spirit stones were the same as storage rings, they were both essential for a high-level warrior. The latter was used to store objects, while the former was used to provide Yuan qi for training, which could only be produced by natural veins. According to the quality and amount of spirit stones, they could be divided into low rank, mid rank, top rank, and extreme rank. For ordinary people, it would take more than 5 years to train from Mortal Realm Stage 1 to Mortal Realm Stage 10, more than 10 years to train from early Condensing Reality Realm to late Condensing Reality Realm, and at least 20 to 30 years to train from early Clasping Yuan Realm to late Clasping Yuan Realm. For most people, 40 to 50 years was way too long, terrifyingly long. But with spirit stones, it would be different. Apart from the mortal realm, the warriors would need to train by themselves. Once they reached the Condensing Reality Realm, they would be able to absorb the Yuan qi from the spirit stones. According to some people's calculations, the quality of the Yuan qi in the spirit stones was equivalent to 5 times the quality of the Yuan qi in the world. In other words, excluding the problem of breaking through to the next level, it would be 4 times faster than normal training speed. In other words, only with the spirit stones could a genius be seen. After all, geniuses had extremely high comprehensive abilities, and could break through to the next level at an unbelievable speed, which would maximize the value of the spirit stones. But for those who were not talented, even with the help of the spirit stones, when it came time to break through to the next level, they would still have to focus on the spirit stones. Otherwise, they might be stuck at the same level for the rest of their lives. Yi Chen estimated that there were at least 10,000 spirit stones in the storage ring, and each spirit stone was worth more than 1,000 silvers. In total, there were 10 million silvers in the storage ring. What did 10 million silvers mean? It was enough to support a medium-sized family for 1 or 2 years. It was definitely a huge amount of money. Don't show your wealth, I have to keep this secret. Before I become powerful enough, I can't keep it to myself. Yi Chen warned himself. Moving his eyes away from the spirit stones with difficulty, Yi Chen took out the 2 manuals. The first one was a fist art manual. The Tyrant Fist was a low-rank Earthrealm martial skill. The practitioner must have absolute confidence, never give up, or else it would be hard to bring out the essence of the Tyrant Fist. The Tyrant Fist had 4 movements. The first movement, Tyrannical Rampage. The second movement, Dominating the World. The third movement, Dominating the World. The fourth movement, Tyrannical Millennium. Remember, the Tyrant Fist was extremely powerful. Before the practitioner had mastered Jin Qi, his body must be extremely powerful. Otherwise, he would injure himself, which was not worth it. The fourth movement, Tyrannical Millennium, was extremely mysterious. Only the body and Jin Qi could be used to its limit. It was a low-rank Earthrealm fist art. It would be a lie if Yi Chen said he was not excited. Normally, only the core disciples were qualified to learn low-rank Earthrealm martial skills. Only a few of the inner disciples could learn low-rank Earthrealm martial skills, not to mention the outer disciples. Yi Chen then looked at the second one. The second one was a body-strengthening manual. Pure Jade Body Boosting Spell, low-rank Earthrealm, passed down from hundreds of years ago. It can increase the capacity of Yuan Qi that a mortal realm warrior can store. If a mortal realm warrior trained it, he or she could directly absorb the Yuan Qi from the soul stones with his or her strong body, without worrying about safety. The Pure Jade Body Boosting Spell had 5 movements. The first movement, Body Training. The second movement, Hard and Soft Force. The third movement, Pure Jade Body Boosting Spell. The fourth movement, Broken Jade Rebirth. The fifth movement, King Kong Jade Body. Chapter 28. After being shocked by the storage ring and the soul stones, Yi Chen was not that excited after seeing the low-rank Earthrealm manual. But of course, he was happy. Putting away the manual, Yi Chen took out the last item. It was a long saber with a scabbard. The scabbard was clear in color, carved with mountains, rivers, birds, and fishes. The handle was long, and the handguard was a tiger's head, which swallowed the saber. Chin. Xiao Chen drew his saber, and a bright saber qi shot out. It left a 1-meter-long mark on the walls of the stone room, looking exceptionally sharp. What a great saber, it can even produce saber qi. Yi Chen's eyes brightened. A weapon that could produce saber qi had already surpassed the category of ordinary weapons, and had risen to the level of a godly weapon. In his memory, the Yi family also had a great sword, called Vanishing Shadow. With one thrust, it could break through the air and kill without leaving a trace. If he was not mistaken, this great saber was worth more than 1,000,000 silvers. The only unfortunate thing was that Yi Chen did not use a blade, but a sword instead. In his opinion, the sword was the king of all weapons, and the overall evaluation was the highest. Plus, the number of people who trained in the sword would usually take up half of the total population, but the ones who could actually train it well were very, very few, even less than the other weapons. The cold saber was covered by the scabbard. Yi Chen looked back at the burnt ground. If he guessed it right, the owner of the stone room was already dead. He had lost his mind while training, and was burned into ashes by the Jin Qi fire. Naturally, the storage ring had fallen into the ashes. Bowing 3 times to the ashes, Yi Chen murmured, "Elder, although you did not leave many things, but they are very useful to me. I, the outer disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School, bow to you. I hope you will not blame me for taking your things." After bowing 3 times, Yi Chen felt a bit emotional. Judging from the belongings, this deceased elder had quite a high cultivation, at least above the clasping Yuan realm, or even reached the astral reaching realm. Unfortunately, he still could not escape the fate of losing his mind. From this, one could imagine the cruelty of training. Even if one had to deal with external disasters, one had to overcome one's own body. Yi Chen, who could not find a way out, decided to train the Pure Jade Body Boosting spell. He had already mastered the first spell of the Pure Jade Body Boosting spell a long time ago, and the second spell had already reached the level of toughness and softness. The only thing he needed now was to be like his senior sister Shu Jing, to have a godly power inside his body. What was divine power? The most common horse on this true spirit continent was called the dark brown horse. It could run as fast as flying, and it had a strong body. Without increasing its speed, it could have a force of 2,000 pounds with a light bump. Right now, Yi Chen's strength was around 1,500 jin. He was not far from 2,000 jin. However, he knew that the further he went, the slower his strength would grow. The time needed to reach 500 jin would definitely be longer than before. Yi Chen took out a few bottles of physique tempering paste from his pocket and took off his clothes, rubbing them on his body meticulously. Only when his skin shone with a glossy sheen, accentuating his muscles, did Yi Chen get into a stance and start practicing his punches in detail. The punches were still the King Kong fist. The more aggressive the punches were, the more thorough the training of the body would be. Of course, the King Kong fist was different from before. Instead, it was combined with the second spell of the Pure Jade Body Boosting spell. The effect was even more obvious. King Kong crossing the river, King Kong smash, King Kong dive, King Kong unlimited. Practicing the movements of the King Kong fist, Yi Chen gradually got into the zone. He forgot about everything around him. Vaguely, there came the sound of blood flowing inside Yi Chen's body. It sounded like a huge river. On the contrary, his heartbeat was getting slower and slower, but it was still very powerful. The thumping sound was like a huge drum, vibrating his bones. Not knowing how long had passed, Yi Chen suddenly opened his eyes. He jumped up and threw a punch at the huge grey tree trunk. Boom! The tree trunk was extremely hard. There were only a few cracks on it. What a hard tree. But my strength has increased a lot. It should be 1,500 pounds now. I didn't expect the Pure Jade Body Boosting spell to be so useful. Within 2 to 4 hours, his strength had increased by almost 100 pounds. It was something that the King Kong fist could not achieve. After resting for a while, Yi Chen felt a bit hungry. What he had just done had used up all the extra energy in his body. He needed to replenish it. Walking to the river, Yi Chen thought to himself, the fish in here should be edible. The river was deep and clear. Through the water, he could see the shadows. The smaller ones were about a foot long, and the bigger ones were more than 5 feet long. They were swimming very fast. With just a swing of their tails, they could swim 7 to 8 meters away, out of people's sight. Picking up a stone from the ground, Yi Chen yelled in a low voice, "Hit it!" With the force of more than 1,000 pounds, the stone was even sharper than a hidden weapon. It drew a straight line in the air, and instantly sank into the water. Originally, Yi Chen was just testing the distance of the fish and the refraction of the water. He did not expect that he would hit a 5 feet long black shadow. Whoosh! All of a sudden, the black shadow flipped over and broke out of the water. As the water splashed, a dark brown weird fish appeared in front of Yi Chen's eyes. There were thorns on the side of its gills, its body was thick and powerful, and its surface was uneven. Opening its mouth full of sharp teeth, the weird fish bit towards Yi Chen's head. Yi Chen smiled lightly. He bent down and punched the weird fish's abdomen. Chin. The weird fish's skin was as hard as steel, which surprised Yi Chen a lot. With his current punch, he could shatter a huge rock into pieces, but he could not break through its defense. Pa! The weird fish backed off 1/2 meter under the impact of the punch. It swung its tail, which was as thin as a cow's tail. Even Yi Chen did not want to be hit by it. At this critical moment, Yi Chen did not choose to back off. He took out the great blade from his storage ring and waved it. Puff! The weird fish's tail was chopped off. The weird fish fell into the river, trying its best to swim deeper, not daring to attack Yi Chen again. Forcing a smile, Yi Chen knew that without the great blade, it would not be easy to deal with this weird fish. Whether or not he could break through its defense was still a problem. But judging from the fish's body, it did not seem to be releasing any beast chi, so it could not be a beast. It should be an ancient species with special talents. The fish's tail was 3 feet long, and was as thick as a bowl, enough for Yi Chen to eat. He always carried a fire starter with him, so Yi Chen started a fire quickly and put the fishtail on the grill. After 15 minutes, a smell that he had never smelled before spread out, which made Yi Chen's mouth twitch. Grabbing the fish tail, Yi Chen bit down. The meat was so tender that he almost bit his tongue. This is amazing. This fish is like beef, but also like chicken. It has an indescribable rich aroma, and it is very chewy. Wait, why is my body heating up? As he swallowed the fish, Yi Chen's body suddenly felt hot. A wave of heat spread out from his stomach to the rest of his body, seeping into his muscles, blood, and even his bones. Wave after wave, it felt very warm. Chapter 29. After about 15 minutes, the heat flow finally dissipated. Yi Chen felt that his body was filled with strength from the inside out. He was brimming with energy, as if he could kill a ferocious tiger with a single punch. Could it be that the flesh of this strange fish has the effect of strengthening one's body? Yi Chen revealed a joyful expression as he devoured the fish tail in big mouthfuls. He only chewed 3 times before swallowing the fish tail. Kai kai. His body rapidly heated up, and sticky black impurities seeped out from his pores. A foul stench filled the air, and Yi Chen almost fainted from the suffocating smell. I can't take it anymore, I have to go take a bath. Yi Chen couldn't care less about the strange fish in the river. He stood up and leaped lightly into the river. Whoosh! The cool river water touched his skin, and it felt extremely comfortable. All 48,000 pores on his body seemed to have opened up, greedily breathing in. However, the owner of the river water wasn't willing. The strange fish in the vicinity heard the noise and attacked in a frenzy. Yi Chen laughed coldly. He took out his treasured saber and swept it horizontally, slashing out a circular arc of saber energy in the water. 1, 2, 3. A total of 9 strange fish were slashed into 2, unable to retaliate at all. Yi Chen threw their corpses onto the shore, 1 in each hand, preparing to use them as food in the future. When the other strange fish saw how fierce Yi Chen was, they all fled like birds. It seemed that they weren't as courageous as they appeared to be. After taking a refreshing bath, Yi Chen jumped out of the river. He subconsciously lifted his feet, and his entire body felt light and healthy. Other than that, the fish meat in his stomach had been completely digested, and he had to replenish it. The largest of the 9 strange fish was no longer than 3 feet. Yi Chen picked up 3 of them, cut their stomachs, and poured out their intestines. After washing them, he skewered them with a thin branch and roasted them over the bonfire. The aroma filled the air. After a while, the fish meat was cooked again. My strength has increased a lot now. I wonder if I can reach the divine power stage by eating fish. Strength above 2,000 pounds was considered to be super strength. Some people were born with super strength when they were 8 or 9 years old, but some people couldn't even when they were in their 20s or 30s. This was the difference in talent. Originally, it would take Yi Chen at least a week to reach this level, and that was with the help of the pure jade body boosting spell. But now, he could reach his goal by eating the fish, which would save him a lot of time, so why not? After eating the 3 fish, black impurities oozed out of Yi Chen's body again, but they were much less than the first time and were slightly transparent. At the same time, Yi Chen's stomach churned with extreme pain. He hurriedly rushed to the toilet in the underground world and squatted down impatiently. There was a continuous puffing sound, and the surroundings were filled with a foul stench. After he had completely excreted, Yi Chen did not feel too exhausted. Those were just impurities that could not be excreted from his pores. He did not want to take a second look at them. Naked, Yi Chen poured some vanilla powder around him to cover the stench in the air, and then walked into the river. As the black impurities were washed away, Yi Chen's skin became smooth like silk. It was tough and dense, and even swords would not be able to cut it. His tender body seemed to have been trained countless times. His muscles were well-defined, and his broad shoulders were strong. Yi Chen calmly felt that his body was continuously absorbing yuan qi. Even the river could not stop it. Furthermore, the yuan qi was changing slightly, and its capacity had increased by more than 30%. It was almost automatically pouring into his body, and quickly merging with his qi. The qi whirlpool in his dantian gradually tightened, and the pressure in the center increased, as if it was turning his qi into Jin qi in advance to strengthen his body. It seems like not only my body's quality has increased, but the speed of absorbing yuan qi has also increased. This is not as simple as the super strength. That's right, Yi Chen's strength had already surpassed 2,000 pounds, and was approaching 3,000 pounds. In terms of pure strength, the core disciple Xu Jing was not that much stronger than Yi Chen, at most 3,000 to 4,000 pounds. Eating fish, practicing boxing, and training his qi, time passed by slowly. On this day, Yi Chen stood in front of a big grey tree. If I could break this tree with one punch, it would mean that my strength had reached 3,000 pounds. By then, it would be easier for me to train the third level of the Pure Jade body boosting spell. Once I have mastered the third level, I would be able to use the yuan qi from the spirit stones to replace the natural yuan qi. Yi Chen's mind was like a mirror. He had already planned out all the steps for the future. Letting out a breath, Yi Chen punched the big tree. Crack! The big tree broke instantly. The top half of the tree fell down and landed on the ground. Done. Yi Chen took a deep breath. It is even stronger than I thought. It should be 3,500 pounds. Although he did not know how much time had passed outside, Yi Chen's intuition told him that it had not been more than 3 days, maybe even less. In just 2 to 3 days, he had mastered the second level of the Pure Jade body boosting spell. This horrifying speed even surprised Yi Chen himself. He was wondering how strong he could become by eating fish. Would it be more than 5,000 pounds, or even 10,000 pounds? Shaking his head, Yi Chen could not imagine it anymore. As time went on, Yi Chen started to feel annoyed. This place was too depressing, isolated from the rest of the world. It would be fine if it was just 1 or 2 days, but to live here every day, Yi Chen suspected that he would go crazy. Making up his mind, Yi Chen was ready to leave this place. Looking at the river, Yi Chen planned to catch some weird fishes and put them in his storage ring before he found a way out. These fishes could easily be worth more than 10,000 silvers, especially that huge fish that was 5 feet long. Just its tail alone was more effective than the other small fishes. It was obvious how effective it was. Making up his mind, Yi Chen took out his great blade and dove into the river. The river was very deep, and it was pitch black. Yi Chen had already expected this situation, so he took out a few luminous stones and threw them into the river. The valuable luminous stones slowly sank into the river, emitting a soft glow that illuminated the environment within a radius of 10 meters. Whoosh! The river rippled, and the huge shadow quickly swam away. Where do you think you are going? Yi Chen gathered his qi and threw out a blade attack. The bright blade qi could not even stop the river water. It was cut open and chased after the shadow like lightning. With a puff sound, the shadow froze in place. Yi Chen was afraid that it might be a trap, so he threw out another blade qi attack. As expected, the huge shadow struggled for a while, and the river water became murky, making it hard for the naked eye to see clearly. Of course, this was not a problem for Yi Chen. With his powerful soul power, Yi Chen easily caught the shadow, and with a push of his feet, he jumped up. Breaking out of the water, Yi Chen threw the dead fish on the shore and continued to dive. 1, 2, 5. Only when there were no more strange fishes in the river did Yi Chen stop. It's time to go back. That red blood demon beast must have gone somewhere else to hunt. Yi Chen was still a bit worried. A rank 4 beast was unimaginably powerful. Even if he had 10,000 pounds of strength, he would not dare to fight against it, unless he reached the condensing reality realm. Following the path he came from, Yi Chen carefully walked back. From afar, there was a light coming from the huge crack in the rock mountain. Yi Chen held his breath, tightly holding his blade as he walked quietly. Chapter 30. The entrance was a mess. Broken rocks were everywhere. Looking at the walls, there were claw marks that were a few feet deep, as if they were made of tofu. Yi Chen secretly felt lucky. He did not dare to stay any longer and flew back the way he came. Yi Chen had already remembered the lesson from last time. Therefore, In this dangerous area, Yi Chen did not rush on the ground. Instead, he jumped from one big tree to another. Along the way, he released his soul power to the limit. Once there was any movement, he would immediately hide his aura and hide. In the afternoon, Yi Chen finally arrived at the place where the big leather bag was placed. "Chem, there's someone?" Hiding behind the big tree, Yi Chen's eyes were sharp. Under the big tree, 3 teenagers were standing there. One of them had a big leather bag in his hand. It was very bulging. It was Yi Chen's harvest from a few days ago. "Haha, our luck is too good. Walking on the road, we can pick up demonic beast materials. There is even an inner pellet inside. We can sell it for at least 20 to 30,000 silvers." The slightly older teenager sneered. "I wonder which idiot hid the demonic beast materials on the tree. He thought no one would find them. What a joke." Another one flattered, "Zhongkuan, you are the best. You could tell with one glance that there was something on the tree. We did not know anything." Zhongkuan said proudly, "That's why I said that following me is your good fortune. Wait until my cousin, Zhonghaoren, becomes an inner disciple. Then we can do whatever we want in the outer court." Of course, of course." The two nodded and complimented. Yi Chen could not stand it anymore. He walked out and said, "Put down the demonic beast materials." Zhongkuan looked back. "It's you." That day in the Mu Ren Gang competition, Zhongkuan had Zhonghaoren's help, so he should have been able to get the 3rd place easily. But unfortunately, his plan could not keep up with the changes. Yi Chen suddenly appeared out of nowhere and took the 3rd place, which made Zhongkuan very annoyed. "Zhongkuan, who is this little bastard? Do you want us to teach him a lesson? Make him kneel on the ground and kowtow to admit his mistake." The square-faced youth next to him observed the situation and understood that Yi Chen had offended Zhongkuan. "That's right. I have the most experience in dealing with low-level outer sect disciples. I can make them cry for mercy. Hey, little bastard, crawl over here yourself." Thinking that he was at Mortal Realm Stage 9, the young man did not take Yi Chen seriously at all, his face full of disdain. Zhongkuan grinned and said, "He offended my cousin, so he definitely won't have a good time. But now, we can humiliate him and let him know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is." Yi Chen said coldly, "Are you guys done yet? Put down the demonic beast materials and slap yourselves 10 times. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving." "What?" Hearing Yi Chen's words, Zhongkuan and the other two's expressions suddenly changed. It was not that they had never seen arrogant people before, but they had never seen anyone with a low cultivation base who could be arrogant. This Yi Chen was simply courting death. Anger gave birth to courage, and the 3 of them thought of killing him to silence him. "I dare you to say that again." Zhongkuan did not hide the killing intent in his eyes and said coldly, "If you kowtow and apologize now, you can still be saved. Why are you wasting your breath on him? Little bastard, prepare to die." The square-faced young man took a step forward and opened his right palm, aiming towards Yi Chen's face. If this palm hit him, even if Yi Chen did not die, his face would be disfigured. His attack was indeed vicious. Seeking death. Although the opponent's cultivation was 2 levels higher than his, Yi Chen did not care about it at all. With a casual step forward, his body suddenly appeared in front of the young man. He reached out his right hand and grabbed the young man's neck, slamming him down. Boom! A shallow pit appeared on the ground, and the square-faced young man's head sank half a foot into the pit. "Bastard, if you dare to make a move, I will take your life." Zhongkuan and the other young man were shocked. They joined hands to attack Yi Chen, and each of them performed the martial skills that they had been practicing for a long time. Limitless Sans Hu. Collapsing cloud palm. Facing the two's fierce attacks, Yi Chen's feet shook, and the hard ground was immediately crushed. His whole body became extremely powerful, and without moving, he punched out with both of his fists. Bang! Bang! What's going on? He is only at Mortal Realm Stage 7. Zhongkuan and the other young man felt like they were struck by lightning. They spat out a mouthful of blood, and both of their feet left the ground. On the way, Zhongkuan's face flashed with a vicious expression. He waved his hand and shot out a black light. "Go to hell!" Don't forget that it was I, Jong-Kuan, who killed you in hell. Shoo. The black light was a poisoned willow dart. It was extremely fast, and almost as soon as it was shot, it was already in front of Yi Chen. The head of the dart was shining with a purple light. Just as Jong-Kuan was laughing coldly, his face suddenly froze. In his sight, Yi Chen had only pinched the willow dart with his index and middle fingers of his right hand. Impossible. Even a mortal realm stage 10 warrior would not be able to handle my hidden weapons. Staggering on the ground, Jong-Kuan's face was half angry and half frightened. Yi Chen did not bother to explain. He flicked his hand and threw the willow dart back. I hope you have the antidote with you. With a puff, the willow dart deeply stabbed into Jong-Kuan's arm, and the poison instantly invaded his body. Bastard! I want your whole family dead. My cousin will not let you go. The poison on the willow dart was the 5-step snake poison. Mortal realm warriors would definitely die from it, and even condensing reality realm warriors might not be able to handle it. Seeing that he had been poisoned, Jong-Kuan's face turned pale. He was afraid that the poison would attack his heart before he could detoxify the poison. He quickly took out a bottle of antidote, opened the cork, and poured the whole bottle on his wound. Yi Chen hated it when people humiliated his whole family. He was so angry that he pushed his golden swallow art to its limit. He turned into a wisp of green smoke and flew out, trying to kill Jong-Kuan. At that moment, a cold shout came out. Get back! A figure suddenly appeared in front of Jong-Kuan, blocking his way. Yi Chen could not hold back his power. He threw out a punch. The fierce qi spread out in all directions. The grass and trees were all bent over. Yi Chen lightly flew back to where he was standing, and looked at the young man in front of Jong-Kuan. The young man was about 18 years old. He had a gloomy face and a sarcastic smile on his face. Li Bu. Jong-Kuan was surprised. Li Bu was one of the top outer disciples. He was at the same level as Zhong Haoran, peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10. However, because he had not been able to break through to become an inner disciple for a long time, he had been in closed-door training, hoping to break through before the end of the year. Plus, he did not participate in the Mu Ren Gang competition, otherwise Wu Zongming would not have been able to get the second place. With him here, no matter how powerful Yi Chen was, he would still be killed. Li Bu, my cousin asked you to protect me. Kill him for me now. Jong-Kuan was seriously injured, and as he spoke, there was a lot of blood coming out of his mouth. Li Bu said calmly, you can't even beat a Mortal Realm Stage 7 warrior. You are a disgrace to your cousin. As for him, don't worry, I will let him know what it feels like to kneel down. Zhong Haoran was known as a genius, so Li Bu could not ignore him. In the future, when he becomes an inner disciple, he would be able to take care of him. Turning around, Li Bu said, little brat, I will give you one chance. Kneel down and admit your mistake, and I will let you go. Otherwise, you will know what I, Li Bu, am capable of. Chapter 31. I will also give you a chance, leave now. Yi Chen had only used half of his power, he had not even used his real power yet. Li Bu laughed out loud as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He did not even try to hide the murderous intent in his laughter. Obviously, Yi Chen had pissed him off. Looks like you won't give up until you die. Kneel down. His laughter was still echoing in the air. Li Bu had already charged towards Yi Chen. Along the way, his blade flashed, and the air was cut open. It carried a powerful aura, as if it wanted to see blood. Yi Chen stood where he was without moving, looking like he had been scared out of his wits by the sharp blade light. Seeing this, Li Bu grinned. He was thinking if he should cut off one of Yi Chen's arms first, or one of his ears, or both. Still want to fight back. Li Bu saw Yi Chen's right hand on the hilt of his sword, and his eyes looked empty. Chin. In the next second, a bright sword light appeared out of nowhere. It stabbed out at an incredible speed, and then went back into its scabbard. Li Bu stood there, dumbfounded. He looked down and saw that there was a hole in his left abdomen. The hole went through his back, and blood stained his shirt. No way. No way. I was already at the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10 a year ago. How could I be killed in 1 second? Li Biyu's expression was ferocious, but it gave people a feeling of weakness. Yi Chen said lightly, "I won't kill you today, but if you mess with me again, the consequences will not be so simple." Picking up his big leather bag, Yi Chen turned his back to them. Fresh Wind Town. The Elixir Pavilion. The shopkeeper was shocked as he looked at the beast materials on the counter. It was not that there was something wrong with the materials, but the person who was selling them was too amazing. If it was a mortal realm stage 10 warrior who had gotten so many beast materials, he would not be so surprised. But the problem was that the person was only at the early mortal realm stage 7. Red armored spider materials, 900 silvers, earth-cracking centipede materials, 1,200 silvers, red smelting bird materials, 1,300 silvers, earth viper materials, 800 silvers. Tiger wolf materials, 1,100 silvers, a total of 28,800 silvers. Same old rules, change them all into gold notes. Also, give me a bottle of evil warding potion. The inner core of a monster beast was much more effective than spirit stones alone. Yi Chen would not waste it. You have a demonic beast core? The shopkeeper's eyes lit up. What's the problem? The shopkeeper said, can you sell this inner core to the spirit medicine pavilion? Yi Chen shook his head. I don't lack money. What I lack is time. What if I use an essence chi pill to exchange with you? To tell you the truth, our Spirit Medicine Pavilion's pavilion master is currently experimenting with a new kind of medicinal pill, which requires a large amount of monster beast inner cores. An origin chi pill's effect is absolutely not inferior to an inner core that has matured for 3 months. It can also help you save the money needed to buy evil repelling potions. Yuan chi pellet. Yi Chen froze for a second. This kind of pellet could save a mortal realm warrior 3 months of hard work. Although the inner pellet of a demonic beast was great, it could only save 2 to 3 months of training after using the evil warding potion to get rid of its beast chi. Not to mention that it would save a bottle of evil warding potion that was worth over 10,000 silvers. Okay, I agree to the exchange. Yi Chen nodded. Walking out of the Spirit Medicine Pavilion, Yi Chen walked towards the restaurant. Young master, please do me a favor. Give my poor daughter some food. I am willing to work like a horse in my next life. At the entrance of the restaurant, there was a middle-aged woman with a little girl. Both of their clothes were tattered and their faces were dirty. The little girl seemed to be extremely hungry. She sucked on her fingers with her mouth and looked hopefully at the customers coming and going. Unfortunately, no one paid any attention to them. They thought they were dirty, and didn't even want to look at them. Yi Chen felt sorry for them, so he took out a piece of silver from his money bag and threw it to them. For him, he was not short of money, only big money. Normally, a meal would cost at least 10 to 20 silvers. In terms of living, it could be said that he was quite rich. Thank you, thank you. The middle-aged woman was so excited that she was speechless. She had brought her poor daughter to the windy town for a few days, and the people who gave her money were mostly ordinary people, or some old beggars. Yi Chen waved his hand and walked into the restaurant. The little girl next to the middle-aged woman stared at Yi Chen's back in a daze. There were many things in her eyes that could not be erased. On the second floor, sitting by the window, Yi Chen was still thinking about what had just happened. Compared to the warriors and the rich, the lives of the ordinary people and the poor are way too hard. I can earn hundreds or thousands of silvers just by killing one beast, but they are still struggling to eat 3 meals a day. Who knows how many people have starved to death? Does fate really exist? Only now did Yi Chen feel that he had integrated into this world. He felt the joys and sorrows of this world, and the sufferings of all living beings. Before, he had always regarded himself as an outsider, a passerby. Forget it. There are millions of poor people on this true spirit continent. I can't help them all even if I wanted to. I can only promise to help every single one I see. After finishing his meal and leaving the restaurant, the mother and daughter were already gone. They probably went to some steamed bun shop to buy steamed buns. Yi Chen sighed and walked towards the tall windy mountain in the distance. When he returned to the independent courtyard, the sky was already dark, and a bright moon was slowly rising. Yi Chen first took a shower to get rid of the dust on his body, then he sat on the bed with his legs crossed, preparing to refine the yuan qi pellet into his own qi. The yuan qi pellet was light yellow in color, and there were fine cloud patterns on its surface, making it slightly transparent. Gulp. After swallowing the yuan qi pellet, Yi Chen concentrated his qi and slowly started to operate the pure yuan art. Boom. A loud noise seemed to come from his inner world. The yuan qi pellet turned into pure yuan qi and flowed into all of his meridians, merging with his qi. 2 whole hours passed. Yi Chen opened his eyes, and a sharp light flashed through them. From early mortal realm stage 7 to late mortal realm in one go, I don't think the yuan qi pellet has such a big effect. After 3 months of hard work, it was already quite good for him to reach the mid-stage, since his body condition was not that great after all. It was barely above average, and could not compete with those martial geniuses at all. His only advantage was his powerful soul power, and his extraordinary comprehensive ability. He could train any martial art to perfection. However, it did not have much to do with his cultivation. At most, he would be able to reach the next level faster, and it would not take him too long to do so. Could it be that the fish meat had changed my body quality, or that my body was extremely lacking in yuan qi, so it was more efficient and could convert more qi into qi? Yi Chen would not think about the things that he could not figure out for the time being. He needed to think about how to train the third spell of the pure jade body boosting spell. Different from normal martial arts, body boosting martial arts were usually very hard to train, and it had nothing to do with comprehension ability. It required opportunities and methods, or else it would be useless. Of course, it was not that Yi Chen did not have the ability to train it, but the training method of the third spell was a bit weird. It required him to absorb the jade qi from the jade stones and merge it with his body. Chapter 32. After thinking for a while, Yi Chen opened the box next to his bed and took out a blue jade pendant with dragon patterns. It looked a bit broken. This jade pendant was something Yi Chen had his eyes on at the pawn shop. At that time, he already felt that it was different from the others, but he did not know what was different about it. But now, Yi Chen could see through it with just one look. There was a blue qi circulating inside the jade pendant, and it was constantly repairing the broken parts. Natural blue jade! Yi Chen shouted in surprise. Jade was divided into innate and acquired. The latter was formed slowly after thousands of years, while the former was formed when a wisp of innate vital energy entered the jade and developed a faint spiritual nature. It often had indescribable hidden benefits for the wearer. However, these two kinds of jade were extremely hard to tell apart. If it were not for Yi Chen's powerful soul power, he would not have been able to recognize it. With this natural blue jade, it can save me a lot of time. Just when I am about to doze off, someone sends me a pillow. Yi Chen smiled and held the jade in his hand. Calming himself down, Yi Chen took a deep breath and pushed his pure yuan art to its limit. His pure yuan art flowed into the blue jade through the meridians in his arm. Pop! The yuan qi in the blue jade had already merged with the jade qi, forming a special kind of spiritual qi. It was quite thick and sticky, and it was a bit troublesome to absorb it with his pure yuan art. He could only pull out one stream at a time. One stream was fine, he could take it slow. As the spiritual qi entered his body, it did not merge with his qi. Instead, it spread to every part of his body, as if his body was a jade body. Next was the most important part. The pure jade body boosting spell flowed through his mind. Yi Chen used his powerful soul power to gather all the scattered spiritual qi and used it to cleanse his body. In the end, he simply merged it with the spiritual qi. Looking closely, one could see that there was a faint jade light on the surface of his skin, but it was so weak that it was almost negligible. 6 days had passed. Yi Chen had finally reached the entry level. His body had merged with 133 streams of spiritual qi. The blue jade's luster was getting dimmer and dimmer, and it had lost its spiritual qi. Once he started the pure jade body boosting spell, the surface of his body immediately shone with a jade-like luster, making him look indestructible. Picking up a fruit knife from the table, Yi Chen clenched his teeth and used 60% of his strength to stab at the less fatal spot on his chest. Pa! After all, the fruit knife was no match for a fine steel sword. It broke into two, but there was only a white mark on Yi Chen's skin. Withdrawing the jade chi, Yi Chen's skin became soft again, and the luster of the jade disappeared. It was as delicate as a brocade, full of elasticity, but it didn't lose its explosive power. I'm only at minor success in the third art, and it already has such a defense. I really wonder what the fourth and fifth art will be like. Originally, Yi Chen had planned to cultivate with spirit stones only after he had mastered the third art. However, Yi Chen felt that it was about time. His meridians and physical body could withstand the impact of the spirit stone's yuan qi, so he didn't have to worry about any side effects. The result was just as he expected. The energy within the spirit stones was still boundless and pure, but it was already under his control and could not cause any more waves. With the huge amount of spirit stone's yuan qi turned into qi, Yi Chen soon broke through the mortal realm stage 7 and reached the early stage 8. Looking at the low-rank spirit stone in his hand, Yi Chen thought to himself, a low-rank spirit stone is enough for an early condensing reality realm warrior to use for 5 days, and I am only a mortal realm stage 8 warrior, so I should be able to use it for 10 days, maybe even more. That deceased senior left me a huge fortune. The Martial Plaza, the place where the Sky Cloud Martial School Disciples competitions were held. Today was not an important day, and there were no competitions, but there were a lot of people gathered here from all directions. Most of them were outer disciples, and there were a few dozen inner disciples. Huang Bingwen, don't underestimate Zhong Haoren. He is called a genius, so he must have some skills. Brother Kui is right, cross-realm challenges are nothing new in the Windy Nation. Don't fail miserably and embarrass us inner disciples. 3 inner disciples were walking side by side, 2 of them were talking to each other. Huang Bingwen, who was dressed in yellow, proudly said, "Of course I won't underestimate him. I gave him 2 months because I was about to break through to the 5th layer of the Heart Sutra. You should know that the gap between each layer of the Heart Sutra is very big. That way, I would have more confidence." It had been 2 months since the incident at the Pavilion of Martial Arts. Huang Bingwen did not forget about the bet with Zhong Haoren, and he also wanted to try out the power of the 5th level of the Heart Sutra. The 5th level of the Heart Sutra, you hid it so well. Zhong Haoren won't be able to do anything now. Oh right, I heard that you also made a bet with another outer disciple, it is also today. Huang Bingwen said with disdain, him? He is only at the late mortal realm stage 6, I can kill him with 1 finger. Late mortal realm stage 6? You're overestimating your own capabilities. Hehe, this year's outer disciples are all itching for a beating, I can't help but teach them a lesson. Huang Bingwen was the star of today's show. As he arrived, everyone's eyes were on him, making him feel like he had never felt before. Standing on the stage, Huang Bingwen shouted, "Zhong Haoren, come up and die." Below the stage, Zhong Haoren, who was wearing a blue shirt, sneered, "Huang Bingwen, if you want to die, you don't have to rush. You should take care of that stupid outer disciple first." He had already known about his cousin being badly wounded, but he was not in a hurry to take revenge. For him, letting Yi Chen be stepped on by Huang Bingwen in front of everyone would not be a bad idea. There was no need to dirty his own hands. If he fought with Huang Bingwen first, then Huang Bingwen would definitely lose, and he would not be able to see that scene. Alright, I only need 1 move to take care of him, he can't run away anyways. Huang Bingwen did not care about such a small thing, he looked around, trying to find Yi Chen. In the crowd, Wu Zongming said worriedly, "Yi Chen, although you have reached the late mortal realm stage 9, your opponent has been at the early condensing reality realm for a long time, his martial skills are all more powerful than yours, it will be very hard for you to win, just try not to lose too badly." In the history of the Sky Cloud Martial School, it was rare for an outer disciple to defeat an inner disciple, and all of those outer disciples were extremely talented. Although Yi Chen was quite talented, it would be very difficult for him to compete with Huang Bingwen, almost impossible. Yi Chen smiled lightly, "I know what I'm doing." Pushing through the crowd, Yi Chen walked towards the battling stage, he shouted, "Stop looking, I'm here." Huang Bingwen's eyes were fixed on Yi Chen, he laughed evilly, "Looks like you have been here for a long time, Why did you only come out now? Shoo. With a jump, Yi Chen landed on the huge battling stage. To be honest, it was a mistake for you not to fight with Zhong Haoren first, because you won't have the chance anymore. Huang Bingwen raised his eyebrows. What a boast. I will let you know what it feels like to be stepped on soon. An outer disciple, he did not even care about him. Chapter 33. This brat is looking for death. Do you guys know him? I know him. His name is Yi Chen. Half a year ago, he was only at Mortal Realm Stage 4. Even I can't see through him now, no wonder he is so confident. No matter how fast he improves, it doesn't matter. Although brother Huang Bingwen is ranked in the top 300, he is still an early condensing reality realm warrior. Us outer disciples are no match for him at all. That's true, Yi Chen is going to be unlucky. The outer disciples were all talking about it, while the inner disciples were just watching coldly. Brat, go to hell. On the stage, Huang Bingwen didn't even prepare his power, he just took a big step forward and grabbed Yi Chen's head with his claw. The black claw light made a swishing sound. Demon finishing claw. Yi Chen recognized his opponent's martial skill, it was a top-rank Mortal Realm martial skill. With one attack, it could even break a steel plate. The power of the claw could penetrate through the Zhen Qi of a warrior of the same level. Shoo. Yi Chen lightly touched the ground and flew backwards, dodging the claw light. Huang Bingwen had a strange look in his eyes, he yelled, trying to dodge. Skynet attack. Early condensing reality realm warriors could already release their Zhen Qi and kill people from a distance. Huang Bingwen waved his hands in the air, and a dark ghost claw made of Zhen Qi shot out. Releasing Zhen Qi? Indeed troublesome. When fighting against a condensing reality realm warrior, the mortal realm warrior was not only weaker in many aspects, but also couldn't attack from a distance. At most, he could send out a palm wind mixed with qi from 3 to 4 meters away, which was not very powerful. But condensing reality realm warriors were different, they could kill people from 10 meters away. Some of their martial skills even needed a certain distance to be effective. Pushing the golden swallow art to its limit, Yi Chen's body flashed, leaving a shadow on the ground. He dodged the claw light and attacked Huang Bingwen. You are looking for death, I was waiting for you. Huang Bingwen did not expect Yi Chen to be so fast, but he was not worried at all. With a backhand claw, he tore at Yi Chen. On the way, Yi Chen lowered his body and placed his right hand on the hilt of his sword. His sharp eyes stared at Huang Bingwen. 10 steps. 7 steps. 5 steps. A sword light that was as twisted as water instantly attacked, and like a loach, it pierced through the gaps of the claw shadows. Flowing clouds and flowing water, 7th move, seeking gap. The simpler the move, the more effective it was, because it had no flaws at all. Before the sword arrived, Huang Bingwen's chest already had a reaction. It was cold and numb, and goosebumps appeared all over his body. He was incomparably shocked. Yi Chen's strength had completely exceeded his expectations. However, he was an early condensing reality realm warrior after all. He had been in the martial world for quite a while, and had experienced quite a few battles. After the initial shock, he let out an angry roar, mysterious heavy aura. Buzz. The air vibrated. Looking at it with naked eyes, the space 3 feet around Huang Bingwen's body seemed to have been twisted. The sword light flew past him without leaving any damage. It is the 5th level of the mysterious heavy art. A few of the inner disciples frowned, and looked at Huang Bingwen in a different light. Yi Chen frowned, and quickly backed out. Huang Bingwen said confidently, in front of my mysterious heavy aura, all your attacks will be useless. But my attacks will be able to affect your balance. Not necessarily. Yi Chen thought to himself. This time, I will beat you with one attack. Huang Bingwen's face did not look good. He had planned to beat Yi Chen with one attack, and then teach Zhong Haoren a lesson. But he did not expect Yi Chen to be so hard to deal with. Yi Chen's movement was so fast that it was impossible to track him down. Even after a few attacks, he still could not touch Yi Chen. Yi Chen's sword art looked simple, but it forced him to use all of his power to activate the 5th level of the mysterious heavy art. Swimming dragon step. Extending his body, Huang Bingwen strode forward. With a few steps, he was like a soaring divine dragon as he charged toward Yi Chen. Huang Bingwen has even used the mysterious heavy aura and the swimming dragon step. Is this Yi Chen really that powerful? Many of the inner disciples had never fought with Yi Chen before, so they did not know what was going on. I can see that this Yi Chen is definitely a sword genius. An inner disciple said slowly with a serious face. What do you mean? I have seen senior sister Zhumai fight with other core disciples before. She also used the flying cloud sword art. Although it is not that powerful, it is very hard to defend against. You think too highly of him. How can he be compared with senior sister? Don't ask me, I don't know either. Only some powerful inner disciples or core disciples would be able to see it. No matter what, this Yi Chen is now famous. Facing Huang Bingwen, who was rushing towards him, Yi Chen squinted his eyes. As he moved his feet, he used the 9th movement of the flying cloud sword art, moving night. The night light was like water, and the sword light was everywhere. Huang Bingwen's eyes were dazzled. He never knew that the flying cloud sword art was this powerful. However, it was not enough to make him back off. His left hand formed into a claw, and his right hand formed a fist. He threw out a punch at the same time. Demon slaughtering wind claw, crazy fist. The sword and the claw clashed, and a cracking sound was heard. Yi Chen suddenly left the ground and flew back a little. He then made a fist with his left hand covered in a faint golden light, and clashed with Huang Bingwen's right fist. Boom! 2 different forces pressed against each other, and eventually exploded, causing waves of air to ripple. Right at that moment, Yi Chen floated backward in order to get rid of some of the power. Right then, as soon as his feet landed on the ground, his aura changed drastically. It was like a collapsing mountain as he shot out a sword attack towards Huang Bingwen. Not good. Huang Bingwen was caught unprepared. He increased his heavy chi field to its limit, and tilted his head at the same time. Swoosh! The tip of the sword was twisted by the chi field, and brushed past Huang Bingwen's cheek, bringing up a stream of blood. Infinite King Kong, Yi Chen yelled. His left fist shone with a golden light, as if it was made of gold. He took the opportunity and punched towards Huang Bingwen, making an ear-piercing sound. Huang Bingwen's eyes were wide open, and he screamed, "Brat, I want you dead." The first one to fly out was Huang Bingwen. His heavy chi field had been broken, and his chest had been punched by Yi Chen. He felt a sweetness in his throat, and then he spat out a mouthful of blood, along with the sound of his ribs breaking. Yi Chen was also sent flying. Huang Bingwen was still able to use his fist power after being punched, and it landed on Yi Chen's left chest. However, Yi Chen had already started the pure jade body boosting spell. This fist power only made his chi and chi flow not smooth, and made his chi boil, but it had no effect at all. Yi Chen won. He is so powerful. Under the stage, everyone was shocked. They looked at Huang Bingwen, who had been defeated, and Yi Chen, who was still standing, in disbelief. Zhong Haoren sneered. He was indeed surprised. 2 months ago, Yi Chen, who he did not take seriously, had now gained the power to beat an inner disciple. But in his eyes, Huang Bingwen was nothing, because he was also a condensing reality realm warrior now, and his power had increased by more than 1-fold. Yi Chen, do you dare to take 3 punches from me? Zhong Haoren did not seem to have moved, but he had already landed on the stage, completely ignoring the distance between them. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.